And I thought the days of closing strong and recruiting in a big way might go out the door with Jimbo, because Jimbo was a great recruiter. Say what you will about him. But damn, Mike Elko closed pretty damn strong. It feels pretty good to see the class not only get salvaged, in a way, but also get some serious additions late. I mean, Bethel Roman and Robert Borden were not on the board, and all of a sudden they were. Terry Bussey locked in, the big name. You had to get him. We talked about it in the video yesterday. You got him. So Jimbo was the ace recruiter. He was the ace closer. Everyone said that was the great thing about him. Even in the bad times, Jimbo could recruit great. So what happens if Elko can even scratch the surface of what Jimbo was doing on the recruiting front? Because we assume, or we estimate, we think that the Saturday performances, the coaching, the scheme, we think that's going to improve, right? We really like this coaching staff. We really like Colin Klein. And now we really like the players. So imagine you get better coaching and you still get good recruiting. Texas A&M finished 19th in a transition year. In Jimbo's transition year at A&M, we finished 17th. And of course, these are just rankings. It's how we contextualize. It's how we measure things. 19 is pretty damn good. Small class, high average rating. It's really, really positive stuff. And keep in mind, in Jimbo's early year, he had that, in Jimbo's first year, he had that extra leverage point of, I know what it takes to win a championship. I won one 4 or 5 years ago. You can come here, be the first to do it at A&M in the modern era, because I know how to do it. So come ride with me. Elko didn't even have that leverage point. And I'm not even factoring in the transfer portal. Because you talk about those 23 guys, most of which bring college football production and experience, if not really highly rated guys like Des Ricks. This thing is blown over the top for a transition year. Transition years are different now, I'll be clear, because you lose players when you lose coaches now. That wasn't as much the case back when Jimbo was around in his first year. Things have changed rapidly. But it's still an impressive feat, man. It's still, it gets better and better, right? You think back to when we first got Elko, before we had Elko, after Jimbo, or even while we had Jimbo, the way we feel now compared to how we felt then, it's just gotten better day after day. And I'll keep making this point. We're stopping and smelling the roses here. It's okay to be excited about things as they play out. Obviously, the ultimate judgment will be handed out by us when the wins and losses start coming through, because that's what's really important. But you got to get there. You got to put the pieces together to get there. And with this early class, with this first class, I think you're putting pieces together. With the coaching staff, you're putting pieces together. And I'm not making predictions yet, but man, there are a lot of possibilities in year one. I don't know how many of this freshman class are going to make an impact in year one, because there's a lot of experience on this team. Actually, let's just take this opportunity to look at it. I wanted to go through the class today, and my question of the day to you guys, and I'll say what's up to the chat here in just a second. Thank you guys for being here. What grade would you give Elko in his first recruiting class? Not factoring in transfer portal, just recruiting class. There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's a transition year, the amount of players, the quality of player, how many players were retained, how many players were added, your overall grade. So I'm going to go through some of these names real quick. I have the call-in link open. It's going to be a smaller crowd tonight. We're getting into off-season numbers. The crowds are going to shrink. If anybody wants to call in, the link is pinned in the chat. Click that. You'll enter the waiting room, and I'll pull you guys in if you want to talk about your favorite players in this class, give a grade for the class. If not, we'll interact through the chat and keep it a shorter show if no one wants to call in. That's fine. I expect these shows might shorten a little bit throughout the off-season, but right now I'm excited to go through some of these names. And I have always been a person that doesn't get too high on players until they've put pen to paper. So I might be a little bit behind on knowledge on some of these guys, but it's kind of hard to deny the ability of some of these players. It's a damn strong, small class. So let's just go in the order. We'll kind of go in the order that they're listed here. I actually want to start with the O-line class. You put together a very complete offensive line haul in this small recruiting class. I think you got 3 really good guys. So Blake Ivy, he's listed as a tackle. He played tackle. He's a smaller tackle. But what he is extremely athletic, extremely mobile. And if you look at what Colin Klein does with his offensive linemen, a lot of counteraction, a lot of pulling, a lot of mobility in his offensive line. A guy like Blake Ivy kind of fits that mold perfectly. Super highly rated guy, super mobile guy, super athletic kind of offensive lineman. The same can be said for, let's see if I can find him, Asindre Afua. Okay, so something you may not have known about Afua, he played both tackle spots. He projects as an interior guy at the next level. He played some D tackle. He lost 70 pounds, I think, between his junior and senior year. So this guy actually has quicker feet for his size. So it's another kind of guy that can probably do a lot of what Colin Klein's offense is going to call for. You talk about another couple of tackles, true tackles, one that Elko added late. I think he was originally committed to Duke, or he was a heavy Duke lean. I don't know which one of the two it was. He was going to Duke. And then obviously Cushing, Elko, come to A&M. They get him to come. Robert Borden, another prototypical tackle. And then the longest tenured commit in this class, Ashton Funk. Never wavered. Came through to the end. An absolute giant of a human. Pretty vicious if you watch his tape. A lot of times those big guys look like teddy bears. He looks pretty vicious. And you love to see that early on, because I know a lot of offensive linemen, and particularly some of the experienced guys on the team, one of the attributes you typically have to add over time, in some cases, can be toughness. That's not been an issue, I don't think, with Ashton Funk, from what I've seen. Now, maybe you guys can tell me differently. So I feel really good about this O-line class for a couple of reasons. First of all, like I said, a couple of guys are really mobile. And then you get the highly sought-after bookends. I mean, those guys are not easy to find. Those giant, long-limbed, long-bodied tackles. Prototypical tackles. You look at Blake Ivy, you can play him inside or outside. I don't know where he projects exactly. But you look at Borden and you look at Funk, hard to find those kind of guys. You're glad to have them. And the other two guys are really mobile. So first of all, the overall attributes are really nice. These guys are all going to have time to cook. They're all going to grow up within this new system. They're going to start day one with Cushing, day one in Klein's system. Because as we know right now, the offensive line is, maybe it had some bad moments, more than good moments last year, but it's a super experienced O-line. Those guys are going to battle amongst themselves outside of these freshmen, I would think, for playing time next year. And I think that's set for the next 3 years. So these guys have a redshirt year and time to cook before they're going to be called upon in that meaningful way. And I'm liking this. I'm liking their ability to just jump in day one with this whole new system and learn it from the ground up and grow within it and not be pressured to act too young. And that's kind of the case with all these guys, but particularly with O-linemen, a lot of experience in front of them. So let's catch up on the chat real quick before I get into some of the more of the names here. All right. Gary Mertens and John Peroni, good to see you guys. You guys are regulars. I appreciate you guys always being here. Gary Mertens says, signing Terry Bussey is huge. Elko closed the deal. A&M has more to offer than most and can compete with any. Let the W's flow. Bussey's a day one impact kind of guy. Elko confirmed that he would be playing defensive back. He'd be moving around back there, but he would have packages in the special teams and offense. I can't wait to see what they do with him. I can't wait to see how creative they can get with a guy like this. Seems like a super intelligent, good dude. We've talked about him already. I love the way he did his decision. He just said, thank you guys, I'm going to A&M, and it was done. I love that businessman-like approach. I can't wait to see Bussey. It's so exciting. John Peroni says, howdy and gig 'em. Howdy and gig 'em. Matt Myers, will this be the year A&M finally breaks through and win 9 games? Look, you're kind of poking fun. You're being funny there, but I think it's possible. I think it's the year. I think we can get 9. Jeb in the house. What's up, Jeb? Good to see you, man. I hope your date went well last week. Saw you put that in the chat. You missed last week's show for a date. Hey, that's a great excuse to miss a show. Love it. Optimistic about the season. Jimbo is not calling the plays anymore. Yeah. And it's maybe Bobby called the plays, but it was Jimbo's influence. That's gone too. Yep. JT, man, good to see you. You were jumping with the jump song. Yep. Rolando Mirabel, good to see you. Signing Bethel Roman was just the cherry on top after signing Bussey. Okay, I'm going to pause in the chat now because you brought up a point I want to talk about right now, the receiver haul. So good to see you, Rolando. Thanks for saying that. All right, so back to the recruits. The Croots. We went Cruton. So Isaiah Williams and Bethel Roman. Two guys, in my novice early opinion, both project as outside guys with some range, with some serious speed. They have some size. I think Bethel Roman's 6'2". Isaiah Williams is 6'1.5". It's good speed for their size. You're going to have a couple of guys that can get off the line and go. And I don't know what kind of slot they're going to have next to them in the coming years, but I can see these guys creating some space when they have some time to cook. So as we know about this receiver room, you have a bunch of guys who are going to play the next couple of years, and then Bussy, who knows how much he produces there. But I'm really excited about Isaiah Williams and Bethel Roman. Those are two really, really good fast guys. So here it says Bethel Roman is 6'1.5". His huddle profile says 6'2". I don't know what to believe. I like the speed with the size, though. And then, of course, Ernest Campbell. Kind of an underrated. Where is he? Is he even on here? Yeah, he's right here. Ernest Campbell, small guy, but lightning quick from Refugio. Maybe he fits as the slot guy. I don't know. You could probably put him in a lot of different places. You could see those three guys being your starting receiving core in about 2-3 years. We're excited about the guys we have right now. You get those three guys, you use Bussy in year 3, these guys junior year. I'm happy about that receiver core, man. Some cool stuff. All right, let's get back into the chat. All right. Jeb says, A&M still has a ton of talent on the roster. Absolutely. JT Man says, only thing I'm slightly concerned about is scholarship cap, but I'm sure Elko has that under wraps. Yeah, we're over 85 right now, I believe. I think there will be some attrition after spring. People have said this isn't going to happen, but I have a feeling that dudes that just transferred in might look elsewhere once they realize where they are in the rotation, especially if it's one of the deeper rooms, like maybe linebacker, maybe corner, where it's open competition with a bunch of dudes, maybe safety. I don't know. I think there might be at least one guy that does that. That's just my hunch. That's my feeling. But then you're probably going to have a couple of guys elsewhere who were here before, who were letting things play out over spring. So I think we're probably going to dip just under after spring. That would be my guess and my hunch. So I think you're kind of safe being a little bit over 85, but we'll see. It could be an issue. We don't know yet. Matt Myers bringing more heat. Texas, Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, and then everyone else. I mean, yeah, if you're betting, I guess you would pick one of those four. There's a lot that can happen in a 12-team format, though, man. I mean, you're going to have some high-stakes games. You're going to have to win a few playoff games to make it to the top. Maybe. If you're betting, you're fine. Dark horse for the SEC champs. I don't see why not. You have a bunch of talent. You brought in really guys who can produce quickly from the portal. Guys with size, guys with experience. Why can't you produce? Why can't you go out there and win 9-10 games? I'm not saying it's possible. What I've been saying about the schedule is I think all 12 games are winnable. But I also see like 6 losable games on this schedule. So, yeah, it's possible you're a dark horse. Absolutely. A lot of quality and needs in this class. Yes, absolutely. A ton of quality. Let me see what the I think it was like 91 point something average rating in this class. 91.43, and that's, I believe, 10th in average rating in the class amongst all teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th. So yeah, a seriously quality class, small but quality, and we're good with that based on the amount of transfers you got. Elko reeled them in. He went fishing, absolutely. With NIL and A&M becoming a pretty big name, recruiting won't be an issue going forward. Imagine if A&M puts a good season together, like an actual 10-win playoff berth type of season. Imagine how much recruiting is going to take off. You need it because it's already solid without it, and it's been solid without it. And think about how it took off after the Orange Bowl win. That Orange Bowl win played a major role in that 2022 class. That and Houston being stacked. I mean, it'd be a big deal. A&M is the 9th biggest name in the SEC. Shut up. He doesn't believe that. He's just talking. They'll be able to recruit well always. Yep. All right. Gary Mertens with a grade. He says A+. Quality matches anybody's. Absolutely. Recruiting has to factor in the portal additions. Well, if you're factoring in the portal additions, A&M did, I think, A+. I think it's an A+ if you factor in the portal. I totally agree with you, Gary. Once I go through all the rest of the names, I'll give you my rating. And then I'll get into our callers once I go through this. I think we have Max waiting. We have Max waiting. Yes, I'm excited to hear from Max. It's been a couple weeks. But yeah, Gary, I agree. If you factor in the portal, absolutely. But I'm going off of just the high school class because it's like the hot, relevant thing that just came out right now. But you're right. Absolutely. Rolando says, I'll give him an A in my opinion. Busty's a game changer, and hanging on to him gives him an A. That was the big move. That takes it to the next level. Absolutely. Ted, good to see you, man. Hit the like button. Throw up the gig 'em. Thanks for being here, Ted. I appreciate you always, man. Player development is the next step for Elko. And that's one thing I wanted to mention about the 3 receivers in this class, or 4 if you count Busty, who might play some receiver. We've seen a lot of receivers that projected pretty well under Coach Craig over the last few years who didn't really pan out and make a name for themselves, and a lot of them ended up transferring out. This is a big opportunity for Holman Wiggins to make a name for himself at a program where development was an issue in recent history. So if he can put these guys on a good path, on a good trajectory to productivity, like I said, in about 3 years or so, I mean, obviously that's key in this program's long-term like outlook. It would be great for a young coach like Holman Wiggins as a feather in his cap, and it's just straight up needed. It's something that we've been missing. The development hasn't been there. And I always say, as good as A-Chain, as good as Anais have been, as good as guys like Spiller and Weidemeyer were under Jimbo, I still don't feel like any of those guys reached their absolute potential in college. So that's definitely a missing piece in this equation over the last few years, Gary. And I feel good about this staff. I mean, I feel confident that it's probably going to improve, but we have to see it. Tristan Jernigan's tape reminds me a lot of Tyrell Dotson. I was watching Jernigan today. Dude, he's vicious. I love watching him. That's a good comp right there. Ashton Funk is huge. He has short arms. Interesting for his size. Okay. Yeah, that could be an issue at the tackle position. David Franz says, does Bussy play both ways? I think he will. Elko did say in the presser yesterday that he's going to play DB and get looks on offense in special packages, is what he said, and play special teams. So if we're going to go off his word, which, can be a dangerous game in listening to coaches at times, but if we're going off Elko's word, which is all we have right now, yes, he will absolutely play both ways. And it makes so much sense that he'd play both ways. But not like Travis Hunter. I don't want a guy like Terry Bussey playing 2 college football games in one night, because that's essentially what Travis Hunter does. Imagine the wear and tear of one college football game on the body. Travis Hunter does that twice in one night, essentially. He doubles up the snap count. That's pretty crazy. I think that's bad for your future. It's bad for your body. Miles Davis is taped. Yeah, really good. Yeah, absolutely. He's a big dude, too. Miles Davis, I heard he could play some outside linebacker, too, and play close to the line of scrimmage. He's going to be a versatile guy. We'll talk about it in a second. They said the same about Anais playing DB, but ended up playing receiver. It'll be similar with Bussy. You think Bussy might still stay at receiver? It's possible. Gary says, I remember watching fall camp video of Myles Garrett, I think that's what you're talking about, to try and figure out which one he was. The first drill was ladder footwork, and it was obvious. Terry Bussey was like that. Who are you talking about? M. Garrett. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. The date went well, says Jeb. I'm glad to hear it. 3rd time with the same girl. That's progress. 1 week till opening day at Bluebell. I'm very excited. It's going to be a fun year. Ernest Campbell in the slot. Absolutely. Moss, hopefully Moose balls out this year. He has a huge opportunity. Couple of more corners are leaving. We have like 10 to 12 right now. Yeah. I think the corners might be out. Yeah, absolutely. I think if anybody leaves that was just in, it could be a corner, it could be a safety, it could be a linebacker. All right, let's get back to this class real quick, then we'll get into the calls. I have Max and now Theo waiting, so excited to hear from these guys. Hear about this class. Let's hear from these guys in a second. All right, Solomon Williams, late pickup, big-time priority grab at the end. I mean, Nick Scorton upside with this guy, kind of a big body that has the edge rusher's capability, can just run around guys, but has some thickness and power and girth about him. Excited to see him. Kendall Jackson, the kind of guy I think needs a couple of years to pick up some size and power, but from all reports, he has great motor, a great energy, great athleticism for an inside kind of guy. Seems like the kind of guy you could probably move around, but I would wager Kendall Jackson's closer to 285 when he's playing. That's just a guess. That's just a number to throw out there. Seems a little small to be an inside guy right now in the SEC, but at D tackle, I mean, probably don't want to risk his body. Who knows, though? It's a position kind of need in the back end of the rotation. Maybe he does find early playing time. I think he needs some time to cook. And then obviously Dalen Evans. It's just huge to maintain him. That's one of the biggest feathers in the caps of Elko's maintainment of this class, was just keeping Dalen Evans. I mean, he could play early. You can move him around. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays early. I do know he's nursing an injury. He's coming off of surgery, so that might slow down his year one trajectory. Who knows? It's a great guy to have in your program. Very excited about it. All right. Linebackers. So we just talked about Tristan Jernigan. Jeb just compared him to Tyrell Dodson. Great comparison. Vicious guy. But Jordan Lockhart's a physical beast. He's been touted as a diamond in the rough. Obviously, he's only a 3-star. But if you look at the tape, he could be a starter year one. I don't project it. I don't think it's going to happen. But with his size and his instincts, his ability, I would not be surprised if he somehow won the battle next to Torrey York next year. I don't project it. I wouldn't bet on it, but I would not be surprised. Can you guys see Lockhart getting playing time in year one? I almost want to throw like highlights on right now, but maybe for a different video. Yeah, I'm excited about Lockhart. So a guy I don't know too much about right now is Jordan Pride. I heard he's a longer guy. He can play a couple positions. He can play the boundary corner. He can play the safety. It's a crowded room. We'll have to see where it goes. And then obviously Miles Davis, we just talked about, really versatile. Maybe such a big guy. I mean, he could play outside linebacker, play close to the line of scrimmage. Man, this class is really good. I'm just looking at it. Just every player moves the needle at least a little bit. Miles O'Neill. Okay, this guy was underrated, and he had a late surge. Just some of the tape that's come out on him, this kid's arm at his size. Don't be surprised if you're looking in 3 years and Miles O'Neill is fighting for the starting quarterback position at Texas A&M. I mean, this guy was turning heads with his tape later in this cycle. I saw some pictures of some tanks out in front of Kyle Field. There was some military stuff going on. Great to see that. But I thought for a second that tank was actually Miles O'Neill's arm. It's that strong. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, guys. That kind of goes through this class. I don't think I missed anybody. It's a small class. Easy to go through in a quick session. Very excited. Can't wait to keep watching tape on these guys. Gary Merton says, O-line and corner are foremost, but linebacker gains are significant with this class. Absolutely. Miles O'Neill has a Calzada arm at 6'5", 220. I mean, this guy has a high ceiling. Very high ceiling. I have not watched his full tape yet. I'm excited to dig into it. Yeah, Miles O'Neill is very interesting. All right, guys, let's get into some of the callers. Kendall Jackson is a strong side defensive end. Evans is being moved inside. Okay, good to know. Jordan Lockhart will be the backup. The primary backup? Okay, that'd be huge. That'd be huge. Jeb calling in towards the end of the stream. Okay, good to know. I haven't heard from Jeb in a while. All righty. Let's get into the callers. Max, you're on with Drew. Haven't heard from you for a while, man. How you been?
I'm good. Just been a little busy getting life sorted out. First month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Working. Being out of school. It's been a lot of changes. So.
Oh, you're going from school to work right now. That's the transition you're in. Yep. I understand that, keeping you bogged down. That's good though, man. Hope things are going well.
Yeah, I got a good place. It's easy to get to work. Easy to get other places in town. Everything's set up here now. So.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Happy for you. So, what's on your mind tonight? Do you have any comments on this class that Elko closed out?
I do. Everyone was so worried that Bussey was seriously going to leave. And what do you know? Good coaches close deals, even whenever it's not their guy originally, they still close the deal. And also shows the character of a top recruit like that. He says, you know what? You can tell that even though I committed to a completely different project, that project actually ended up being broken. I'm going to stick with it because actually I ended up being blessed with a better opportunity than I ever thought I could have.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He does seem like the kind of guy with the right mindset, very businessman-like approach, not very flashy, not huge into social media. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just kind of refreshing, and it shows what kind of character he has. And it's pretty impressive, like you said, for Elko and company to make up for lost time and get him on board with this new staff and maybe highlighting, like you said, what was wrong before and the opportunities that Colin Klein's offense might present, or the new defensive staff might present for him wherever he ends up playing. Pretty versatile guy. But yeah, man, it was very impressive to see.
Yeah, the I do feel like a talent like that is going to end up starting out on defense because generally that you can make a more instant impact there. Even is just generally unless you have everything together perfectly with like hands, technique, all that it's really hard to be like an elite player as a freshman, and someone as talented as Bussy, you almost feel like anything's possible. Maybe he could be that impactful right away on defense just because of all the talent he has.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Anybody else? Who else sticks out on this list for you? I mean, it's a pretty nice, small but very promising class.
I feel like you got to be optimistic about the in the trenches,
Yeah,
especially whenever you lost so much in the portal, and then you add some quality pieces on a very short time frame.
yep,
So I feel like that's where you have to be most optimistic. But honestly, I'm not a recruiting expert, so
yeah,
I don't want to. I'll leave that for what everybody else has to say because
yep.
I can barely keep up with SMU's recruits.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
uh, but the other question I wanted to ask you was because you've officially made it to the end now, right? Like
Yes.
this is the end. There's not going to be any more news for a while until spring camp, and that's not even really the off season. That's like the start of preseason, really, if we're being honest
Sure.
with ourselves.
Sure.
So like the off season's kind of, or at least the action in the off season is over with now. So
The doldrums are
I mean,
coming.
yeah. So it's there's nothing else happening. So how would you rate everything that's happened since the entire process of this off season? Because there's nothing else is really going to change unless you count the spring football as part of the off season.
Right, right. So how would I rate how this offseason has gone? Basically the start of Elko's tenure, because obviously Jimbo was ousted before the end of the season. Look, man, you say it right. We were worried, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little worried at first. We were in no man's land. We didn't know who it was going to be. We went through the whole Mark Stoops thing, which was really weird. Seemed like we didn't really have direction, but then we somehow land on Mike Elko. And as I've said time and time again, it was a name that I had kind of slowed down on and not been as excited about as we were going through the coaching search. But then after the contrast of the outcry and the outrage of Mark Stoops, the contrast of going from that into whatever stability Mike Elko presented, that was a little bit of relief. But then we still had to see it come together. A lot of people were telling me Elko's not going to be able to recruit. He doesn't have the relationships needed to build a great staff. I heard that from Aggies, so I was getting that negativity from our side. And to see it come together, I have to give it an A at least, if not an A plus, all things considered. Maybe you're grading on a curve because it's a transition year. Maybe you are, but that's part of it. That's a factor. And maybe you're grading on a curve because you lost so many players. But once again, that's part of it. That's a factor. So I would be remiss if I didn't give it at least, at the bare minimum, an A minus. But I think it's an A. It's a flat out A. You put together a strong class. You close strong. The portal was better than expected. It was better than I would have anticipated, even if we did well in the portal, if I was projecting forward from when we first got Elko. The coaching
Yeah.
staff, absolutely amazing. I mean, everybody, in my opinion, moves the needle. Maybe you lose a little bit by losing E-Rob and Terry Price the year before. But besides maybe missing that huge piece, I think every other position coach moves the needle in some capacity. So I have to give it an A to an A plus, man. What about you?
I mean, in the situation, it's definitely an A or an A plus
Right.
because I don't know how much you could have done. But we'll give it that, and then we'll give it the maximum possible potential of what A&M could achieve in an off season, ignoring wins and losses, because that's not something that can be controlled in an off season.
Sure.
So ignoring only that, I would probably put it somewhere between, and I'll rate it out of 10. I'll put it, call it maybe an 8.25 to an 8.5,
Right. Right.
because if you leverage all of A&M's potential, you should be top 5 in everything, or 6th maybe,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're successful.
Sure.
But obviously that's impossible to do in a transition year. But So that would be the difference.
I think that's very fair. I think it's very fair. I mean, if you're cruising, if you're in year 3, if you just come off like a 9-win season in a bowl game and you're trending up, maybe you would have expected more at A&M. Maybe more of like a 9.3 off season would make you feel a little bit better. But all things considered, an 8.25 or whatever you said, I think it's good. I think it makes a lot of sense given the situation, and we're happy with it.
Yeah, and it's not like it's gonna hopefully it's not gonna get it can't get worse. Hopefully it's just gonna get better from here because
Right.
and if this is the worst, I mean, I think you're having a good time, even if championships aren't guaranteed, playoff deep playoff runs aren't guaranteed, but if you don't have the base built, then you're never gonna make it. So
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's exactly what he did. I've been saying that the words I've been using is he's building the foundation, right? I mean, he's putting his staff together, stuff you have to do when you become the coach, but he's really prioritizing forming relationships within the college, high school coaching ranks, presenting himself as a resource for these coaches, shaking hands, getting out there, going by himself to different coaches, attacking Fort Worth, Dallas, attacking California, meeting people. Yeah, he's definitely planting seeds, and he's working tirelessly to really build the foundation of this thing for sure.
yeah, so I mean that's kind of the entire situation. The only, I guess, between now and the start of the season, I guess the question I'll leave you with is if there is one area of the team that's going to, I guess, keep you up at night about, like, obviously they couldn't fix everything because they had limited time, limited resources. It had a volatile situation. What's the thing that's going to keep you up at night that maybe if they can convince enough players who are on the bottom end of the roster to leave for wherever lower level or whatever other team in the spring, that you could maybe try to add a couple pieces in to try to beef up the roster in the spring?
So, what exactly is the question? Because I agree, I understand everything you're saying, but what exactly are you asking me?
Like, what areas of the team you think they couldn't address well enough now that hopefully they can move the roster around in whatever
Right.
way, move the pieces around to find a way to add somebody
Gotcha.
in that group.
Gotcha. So
Spring.
obviously corner and linebacker and defensive back overall, all those rooms are super crowded. We expect to see a couple guys maybe leave there. I would like to see maybe one more productive receiver from lower ranks enter the program, because right now you really only have 5 guys with any kind of experience. It's a good amount. I'd like to see one more. And then I'd like to see one fullback / big-bodied running back kind of body. We don't really have one of those right now. We only have 4 scholarship running backs anyway. It'd be nice to get a guy that can just straight up play the fullback position, play short yardage, get involved in the blocking game. I'd say those are 2 holes right now, the back end of your receiver rotation. I guess the back end of your defensive tackle rotation as well. One more experienced guy there would be nice. But honestly, I think I would be okay if we don't address that going into next year. I think we have a chance right now to find some of that within. The only one that we might not be able to find within is that fullback, H-back kind of guy. I mean, you can maybe play a tight end in some of those scenarios, but in other scenarios, you need a guy with lower leverages, and all of our tight ends are huge and lanky. I think that's probably the most important situational gadget that you need. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah. So if you want to get, you know what SMU did with that situation? Instead of trying to find a real fullback, they ended up converting / playing a depth piece defensive lineman as a fullback.
Nice. Yeah.
And
I've
he
seen
actually made the low man award list, the finalists. He was one of the finalists. Stone Eby. He made that list.
So if you find just someone with athleticism and size that you can teach, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure they can find a guy like that. Yeah, that's very much a possibility. So I guess that's a contingency plan, if you will, if you don't find that guy. And those guys aren't always easy to come by. I mean, the pickings are probably gonna be pretty slim come the spring window. So, I mean, that's a possibility for sure, man. I guess overall though, since you're kind of asking me like what keeps me up at night, going into next year, I mean, it's a lot of new faces, man. It's a lot of new players that are going to be playing for A&M that weren't mainstays the years before. Not that those guys found any kind of success, really, but you're starting new corners, 3 new defensive linemen, a whole new defensive lineman rotation for the most part, a whole new linebacker rotation besides Torrin York. Offense is pretty much all coming back, but can that offensive line put any kind of productivity together that's worthy of a winning offense? So, I mean, it's just going to be showing me show me the money, right? It's just going to be show me what you can do. It's just, that's the only thing. I mean, everything's great on paper. I'm happy with where we're at on paper, but it's like there's new faces. It's a new coaching staff, a new system, new ideologies, new ways of going about things. How do they adjust in year one? So that's one thing that keeps me up at night. It's just so much change, so much new. How quickly can they develop or put through the message, and how quickly can that permeate the locker room, if you know what I mean? All right. That's one thing.
Okay, and then I'll leave these two for you. These are more NCAA sports questions, media questions, real quick. One, the Dartmouth case happened. That's the unionization for Dartmouth basketball, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So if we're at the stage again we were about a decade ago, where there was a regional case that made to the national level, and then it almost got through. This time, you know, it looks like it's going to be a lot more popular this time with the legislators and the regulators to try to push it through. So if we get unionization passed through that way, it's probable you will see more filings, at least from private schools, if not public schools too, as we get on. And, you know,
yeah.
I'm at one end, I want structure. On the other end, I have a feeling that whatever structure comes about is not going to be uniform or helpful in any way for players or for the structure of the sport, because it's not going to be well prepared.
Right. Yeah, man. I don't know where we go with it. This is all new, and I really can't comment yet. I need to see how things play out, but it's gonna be an interesting 10 years, that's for sure. What else do you got? You got one more thing?
The second one, yeah, the last one. Did you hear about the Warner, ESPN, and Fox streaming app they're putting together?
No, fill me in.
Yeah, so Warner, so that's like HBO and TNT and stuff. They're putting together with Fox and ESPN to put like a sports only app for streaming, and I believe it's supposed to come out in 2025.
Wow.
Yeah, so that would contain like NBA, NHL, college football, college basketball, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, TNT would have TNT, TBS. That's March Madness, so you would have March Madness on there. I mean, you have Fox, so that's some NFL, that's baseball.
It's like a joint streaming service. Interesting.
Yes, they're putting one together for just sports, and they're trying to finally find a way to hedge together and get all of sports under one, or at least the majority of sports in the U.S. under one app.
That's pretty cool.
It's cool if it helps. I'm worried about the effect it's going to have on college sports, because that concentration into one app might make it harder for leagues to get media rights if you're not one of the big two, because now you once these current contracts run out, then you're not going to be seen as a premier product to pull subscribers onto these apps, and ESPN's going direct to where people can buy all of ESPN and watch all of ESPN without needing a cable subscription. So we're about to enter a lot of uncertainty, and I don't know how to feel about that for if you're not an A&M fan, or if you're not, you know, a Penn State fan, or if you're not one of the lucky ones like an Illinois fan or a Missouri fan. So
that's true.
It's tough out here, man.
Yeah, I know. I hope no one gets left out, man. We'll see how it plays out. I'd like to imagine there's a world where everybody has the opportunity, but I don't know. If it's all those entities joining together, it seems like there's a lot of space between all of them. It's going to be a pretty jam-packed app, it sounds like. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. It's all new to me. It's new to all of us. We'll see how it goes. I just hope college football doesn't get affected too heavily by that. I mean, we love G5. We love our Maction. We love everything. We don't want to lose anything. So we'll see how it goes. But man, anything else on your mind tonight, Max? It was good to hear from you.
All I gotta say, and I'll leave off is two small things that don't need much addressing. Is one, SMU finally got themselves out of the gutter from Vanderbilt being cowards by scheduling Nevada,
Yeah.
and then two, Florida State, you're not gonna get out of this lawsuit, buddy. Good luck. You're not gonna be able to get this
Oh my
dismissed. Nice
God.
try. Good luck with that. Anyway, have fun, and hopefully some of these other folks got some more ideas on these recruits than me, because
No.
otherwise this.
That
I
was
won't.
great,
It won't
Max.
be. Won't have a lot of insight from other folks.
No,
So,
that's great. That's great. It was great to hear from you, man. Thanks for providing all that insight and all those points. Good to hear from you, man. Have a good night.
see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.
All right, let's catch up on chat. I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick, and then we're gonna get into the last few callers. We have Theo waiting. We have the redshirt sophomore. We have Vudge. Haven't heard from Vudge in a while. And then I heard there might be a Jeb appearance at the end of the show. Bussy visited A&M like 80 times. I was never worried about him leaving. I wasn't, but it's coaching turnover, right? That's the thing that always scares you a little bit. It's just the fact of the game. It's just coaching turnover. They have relationships with the coaches. But Bussy ended up saying in his signing day interviews that the Aggie network was the deciding factor. It was he was saying the marketing and the network and the networking and the people after college that made him make the final decision. That's what he said. The Aggie network, man. Terry Bussey appears to be an exceptional individual as well. He might have interest in engineering. He does. And quality character, having overcome personal tragedies. If you guys didn't know, I believe his mom passed away a couple years ago. That was his sister, I believe, at the signing day table. Lucci says Houston kids love Elko, so Jeb never believed he couldn't recruit. It's huge. Everybody loves Elko. Every player talks highly of Elko, and that was a huge deal. Antiag in the house says like and subscribe. Thanks, Antiag. If you guys could like and subscribe, that'd be great. But a lot of you are regulars, and I know you're subscribed. John Prony says we definitely need to recruit Dallas a lot more. Absolutely. Gary says I've always felt a good coaching hire in W's is all A&M needs to recruit with the best. If for no other reason than the most upper half SEC schools generally recruit well. A&M has even more to offer. Yeah, absolutely. We have so much to offer. Everything's here. You get some winning seasons together, I mean, my goodness. Jeb says we need another receiver, running back, and one more defense. That's exactly what I said. Yep. That's what I see too. Another big, like an experienced linebacker to back up York, because you got a bunch of guys. It's not impossible that backup might be on the team right now. Ernest Crownover was underutilized. He was so good, man. Yeah, he was underutilized. Fullbacks are harder to find in the high school ranks because of the offenses that are run. Yep, a lot of spread and stuff. Yeah, I don't hate Max's idea of finding someone within and maybe molding them to that position. Or maybe a running back who's put on some weight. I don't know. Duke says tough to recruit Dallas area. We'll get a few guys, but it's traditionally been Texas OU territory. Absolutely. Big time. But I think Elko is trying to get a foothold there. I mean, I don't see why A&M can't have a strong footing in Dallas. A lot of A&M grads in Dallas for sure. Not that that's a huge factor, but it's a factor. Lash says, Gig'em Drew. I know Lash is hyped about Bussy. Good to see you, Lash. Fighting in a tight end type body to fill the fullback need is more likely. A smaller tight end well, Max wasn't that small. Max, a guy like Max, right? Can do that kind of thing. We'll see. Duke says, nose tackle and big running back. Yep, we're all in the same boat there. All right, guys, I want to run to the restroom real quick. We're going to get into some more callers in a second. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. I have no one to cover for me when I run to the restroom on these shows. We got the Coke Zero going. All right, I think Theo was next, and he had a technical difficulty, so I'm going to throw him back in the top. Theo, you're on with Drew, man. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Not bad, man. I'm just kind of sitting here after we've seen the end of Elko's early days. Pretty happy, pretty excited. How you doing? You feeling good?
I'm feeling well. I'm feeling really good. I do gotta admit that Elko kind of shut me up because I was kind of worried about his recruiting prowess.
Oh, you were one of those?
Um,
Okay. And you're here to admit it. I like it.
I was worried about it. Like, I questioned how good he could be at it.
Right.
I knew he did pretty well in trying to, get us in the door with Perkins and Ant and stuff. But I didn't know how good he would be at actually sealing the deal and doing that, since he's only done that for like a year at Duke.
Yeah, and to be fair, he had that to prove. I mean, he's still a new coach. He's still a new head coach, and that was something he had to show us, and he did.
I never felt that he couldn't recruit here. It's just I felt like he needed to show that he could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he did that, and he closed strong, and I mean, 19th in the country. He held on to Bussey, he held on to Evans. Give me a couple of names, man. Who are you most excited about on this list? I know we've talked in passing about some of these guys, but give me some of Theo's highlights, if you will.
We've talked so much about so many of them that it's kind of hard to just give it out there. I really need someone to break down the transfer class for me. That's where I'm having a hard time finding film and stuff and looking at
Yeah,
highlights and stuff of those guys. But I really like Lockhart. He reminds me very much of a bigger Antonio Johnson, where he can play that strong nickel safety, but he has a linebacker's body. And I could just imagine by his junior year, after a few years in the weight room, him putting on, another 20, 30 pounds on that 6'2", 6'3" frame that he has. He's going to be scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Running around 6'2" as a junior, 6'3", 250 as a junior, just with that speed that he has, if he can keep that, it's just going to be crazy. I watched him single-handedly destroy a whole drive in that Polynesian Bowl.
That's awesome. I'm watching his highlights right now.
Like 3 plays in a row, he just completely shut down the other team. It was crazy. I was like, and he's a linebacker?
Yeah,
Wow.
right.
Okay.
Just super physical, just blowing up blockers and stuff like that. I mean, what was he doing that was so impressive?
He was able to shed a block and make a tackle for a loss on first down. He was able to shed a block and break up a pass in coverage on like an RPO. And then on third down, the quarterback tried to break out of the pocket while he was in zone coverage, and he made the sack from 5 to 7 yards deep, and made a 2-yard sack.
So you saw physicality and speed.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And playing in coverage. And then, Bussey in that game was playing a lot of wide receiver and slot wide receiver. I didn't like what they did for him in terms of the scheme of the offense for that game. But when he got the ball in his hand, Bussey was amazing, of course.
Yeah.
I really like Afua. He also played in that Polynesian game. He was able to get outside on the pulls and blocks, and he looked nasty doing it. Like he wanted to hurt somebody on the outside. Like that looked nasty.
That's huge.
I
was surprised to see he lost 70 pounds because he's a big boy to begin with. How big was he before?
Yes.
I mean, dang.
From what I heard, he was pushing 400 his junior year.
Yeah, he's like 300 now, so I believe it. I mean, that alone will give you some quickness, just like taking the weight vest off, man. I mean, at that size, he might have some wheels.
Mm-hmm. And then I like the kid they picked up out of Tennessee, the tackle. He's definitely going to be more of a project because he's going to have to put another 20 pounds on to be an SEC tackle. But he reminds me of um, Cody Barnum there at Duke that they had at Duke.
Yeah.
A kid that's a little more of an athletic tackle who needs to put a little bit of weight on. But once he gets that weight on and has the athleticism still in him, he's going to be able to play multiple positions and multiple spots to be able to be anywhere he wants to play.
Yeah, and he played lacrosse, so he has some versatile athleticism. It's kind of funny a guy that big playing lacrosse.
Not just that, but he was the defender in lacrosse.
Right.
He wasn't. He had the long stick according to Elko, and so he had to
That's what you're
cover
saying, yeah.
sideline to sideline space. You know what I mean? Like
That was probably a
that's
sight to
ridiculous.
behold right there. I mean, that's a big boy moving around like that with the big stick. That's kind of scary.
Exactly. And he made all conference doing that. Like, wow. Coming back to some of the other guys, I really like the. Um, I like Jernigan. I think Jernigan can be another York type linebacker that kind of we don't think he can play right away as a freshman, but then comes in and by the fifth week we're like, oh my god, we can't take this kid off the field.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Seems explosive.
he's explosive and he's angry. Like you can
Yeah.
see when he hits, he's angry. He wants to hit. Um, O'Neal, oh my gosh. Um, Not just his throwing tape, but go and look at some of his like game tape. And he's slippery for a quote unquote pocket quarterback. He's really I would say a Drake May esque.
Really?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like he's very much the pocket passer. He has every bit the arm of Calzada, if not stronger.
It's ridiculous
But
to see
he's more agile in the pocket. He very much reminds me of Connor in the pocket.
Wow.
But he also has a stronger arm than Connor. It's crazy.
His potential is off the charts, man. I mean, even at the next level with his size, he has unlimited potential. It seems like from just projecting into his college career. I mean, he has all the tools, man.
hmm I really love what we did at wide receiver. Um, if you put Bussy there, he's there. If you put him not there, he's not there. But um, you still got insane speed in Ernest Campbell, and you still got two really bigger bodied wide receivers that play like bigger possession receivers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's possible
But
you have a
they
starting
still-
three in this class. I mean, they could fit together.
And you still have and the possession receivers, quote unquote possession receivers, still have speed to them. Like the kid from Missouri C, I believe, runs like a 10-3 100-yard dash.
Damn.
Like he's a state qualifier in the 100-yard dash. So it's not unsurprising there.
4.340 as well, according to his huddle.
Yeah. So he's not only big, but he also goes up, gets the ball. He high points the ball well in all its highlights, and then he has the speed to go with it. So and I told you when we talked about that how big he would be to get, even if we do or didn't get Bussy.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
to me, he was the last major missing piece in the roster. Like Bussy was the cherry on top, but if I was looking at the roster, it was okay. I really want one more young wide receiver, and that fullback, big back person we talked about. Those two spots are the ones that was really looking at. Like, okay, what can we do there?
Yeah.
Um, and getting him just kind of seals that all up. And the fact that they got him so late in the game is such a huge, huge prowess to show um, that recruiting stuff that we were scared about, or at least I was scared about for a minute.
Yeah, that was the kind of stuff
Um,
that Jimbo was known for, right? Those last minute names, those last minute pushes, like a week long push before signing day. And
hmm
I didn't know if we were going to get that from Elko either. I was maybe more bullish on him than you were, but I didn't expect a guy like this to pop onto the scene a week before signing day. Obviously, the guy
here's
from
a
Tennessee, I didn't expect that either.
here's a nugget that Bronny dropped yesterday during the recruiting show. If they had one more month with DJ Lagway, he thinks they would have flipped Lagway.
And I hate to be that guy because I hate when people do this to us, but we might not be out of that race talking about a couple years down the road with how Florida's projecting. I hate to be that guy, but you had that late
Right?
push. You developed some relationships late. You never know.
And then just I think Elko's done a magnificent job top to bottom. He really shut me up when it comes to the whole recruiting aspect that I was a little worried about doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Well, let me ask you a couple questions, Theo.
mhm.
So, if you could give me a couple names that you could see as early producers, maybe late in the season. I don't know if there's a day one starter outside of Bussy, and I don't even know if he's a day one starter. He probably is, but you never know. Besides Bussy, are there any day one producers in this freshman class?
I wouldn't I wouldn't discount Dalen Evans. I wouldn't discount Solomon Williams.
Yep.
Um, I wouldn't discount any of the safeties that we picked up. Jordan Davis, Jalen Davis. Um,
So I think I'm with you. I the ones that I see Solomon Williams for sure with potential to have packages because of, I mean, we'll see what they do with the D line, but I could see him having packages in situations where he'll play if it's a spell, if it's a package, and then either of the linebackers could play. I could see Lockhart
I was gonna say
or Jernigan
the
play.
linebackers too.
Yeah, yeah,
So you basically it's pretty much anyone on the D line, any of the linebackers, and then it's kind of tough, but I wouldn't put it past any of the safeties because that's what Elko's known for, and um, just look what he did with a freshman Leon O'Neal and um, Damani Richardson
right.
when he was here. You know
And
what I mean?
yeah,
He wasn't afraid to not put him on the field.
right, right. Yeah, and if Ernest Campbell had a little bit more weight on him, I don't know if 150 is going to cut it early on, but I mean, he's a situational guy. I could see him having situations where a guy like that could be useful. I mean, just that kind of speed and
Definitely.
explosiveness with the ball in his hand or running routes in the slot. You never know. That's
Um,
such a gadget.
Remember when we got him during the beginning of the first signing day? I told him I told you he kind of reminds me of Deuce Vaughn.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
So I can see him being in packages like they had for Deuce Vaughn, even though Deuce Vaughn proved to be an every down back. Early in his career, he had packages,
Yeah,
and so I can see that for Bussy. I can see that for um,
for Campbell.
Campbell. Um, I can even see, I could see 13 personnel sets where we go with three tight ends, and you put someone like um, the tight end that we got out of Missouri out there, or Illinois, I think he was.
Yeah, Illinois. I don't know much about him. Jeb was saying that he is extremely athletic, but just needs a little bit of weight at 220. I mean, I think tight end's pretty deep, but you never know. But yeah, man, I could definitely see a package for Campbell. Definitely, obviously, for Bussy and any D lineman. My last question for you, Theo. All things considered, you can do it on a curve. You could do it straight up. What grade do you give Elko on this class?
Da, 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 da. I'm gonna go A minus, like it's average.
Yeah, that's where I'm
Um,
at.
I would love to say it's an A because of who they kept and who he got, etc. But he did lose some big pieces, even though it's a transfer period. There was still some pieces there that um, we could have got. There's still people in the portal that maybe we could have taken that we didn't even try to go get. Um, I'm thinking like some of the kids from, Washington, some of those offensive linemen that transferred over to Ole Miss. We didn't even try to go get them. We did get Desmond Ricks from Alabama, but I'm sure we could have got, you know, someone else there too that could have helped out a lot.
Yeah, it would have been
Um,
nice, but we're still happy with the haul. But it would have been nice to get some of those guys. And I would say for the class, this freshman class, I'm with you. I'm A minus B plus. I'm somewhere right in there. It is a smaller class. You did lose a couple of guys you couldn't hold on to, but I still think you did a great job holding it together,
right.
keeping Bussy, adding pieces late. So I'm gonna go. I'll say B plus will be where I'm at there. But if you're asking me how has Elko done overall in his first couple of months, I'm going A plus if you're factoring in the staff he put together. If you're going portal, staff, starting a program off, and recruiting class, I'm at an A plus, like I was telling Max earlier.
Without a
Overall,
doubt.
yeah,
I'm even. I think I'm even in the window now where I'm seeing 8-4
yeah,
as a minimum floor.
yeah,
And remember when we started this process, I was worried that it was going to be 6-6, 5-7.
yeah,
But as he's built the staff with both young but experienced and hungry staff members who know how to recruit, and not only know how to recruit, have seemed to expanded the recruiting profile to where we're now getting into Southern California and getting into some of those St. John Bosco kids and some of those um, De La Salle kids and things like that, while we're still also keeping our tabs in Florida that we got with Solomon Williams and Isaiah, the wide receiver.
yep,
Meanwhile, we're also getting inroads into Dallas, Fort Worth area. When we picked up the 25 commit from Forney.
yep.
So all of that encompassed in just over 2 months to go along with the recruiting class and the portal class, and then the way everything seems to flow so much better from what we can see and hear in the recruiting aspect. It feels like an A plus.
I'm totally with you there, Theo. Well, all right, Theo, man. I love to hear you break down those guys tonight. Man, I'm excited to see these guys. It's a great class. Hopefully, it's a class we look back on in a couple years. And a lot of these guys are producers. It seems like there's a lot of guys that could be hits on this class. Not a lot of filler, not a lot of fluff, not a lot of guys that I'm just like, oh, he might work out. It's a lot of guys I'm excited about. And maybe that's just, recency or whatever bias I'm throwing out there. But it truly feels like a class where you got a lot of productivity out of it potentially. But Theo, I'm going to let you go tonight early because we got a couple guys waiting. It was great to hear from you, man. You have a great night.
You too, and don't forget to hit those likes, people.
Thank you, man.
Have a good.
Later, Theo. Thanks for coming on, man. All right, let's catch up on the chat. Then we're getting to Vudge. And then we got the redshirt sophomore in here, so we'll get to those guys in just a second. All right. Duke says Klein's offense will help the O-line a lot. Absolutely. And the guys they're recruiting, they fit what he wants to do. I'm very excited to see this O-line under his offense. And I really like Adam Cushing, man. Just a very down-to-earth guy from what I've heard. Very tactical in his approach, very straight up. It's very much different than what Adazio was, at least from what I can tell from afar. Excited for Jernigan. Alabama was really pushing for him. Yeah, I'm surprised we held on to Jernigan. That's another feather in the cap of Elko, because it did seem like for a couple of weeks there, the insiders were saying, expect the flip. That's where we were, I'm pretty sure, with Jernigan for a couple of weeks there. And A&M held on. That was huge. That's a win in a transition year. Lash says, apparently Elko can close the deal as a recruiter. So is Jimbo. Can he develop better than Jimbo? Absolutely. If he can pull that one attribute from what Jimbo had going on and then add everything else, we're going to feel so good. Nice to have Lockhart and Jernigan as early enrollees, and especially in that position battle. Absolutely. Those guys both have a chance to play, man. It's crazy. I'm super excited about both of them. Lockhart is physical, quick, plays downhill, says Gary. The Duke commit we got is extremely athletic. Yep, the lacrosse kid, absolutely. Borakua Aggie, Nelson, glad I caught you live, brother. Good to see you in here, Nelson. O'Neal probably be a durable quarterback. Big, elusive, athletic. Yeah, it's on the table. Durable is a nice attribute based on what we've seen the last couple of years. Not that anybody had any durability problems, but it's just nice to have, right? With all the quarterback injuries we've had. Big body out there. Big athletic body. Sure. Isaiah Williams is a huge get. Reminds me of E. Stu. Gary says one of the receivers needs to be able to separate. Evan did not do that. Yeah, we like the reminding of Evan Stewart, but we need a little bit different than Evan Stewart. A little bit more separation. A little bit more willing to get the first down Miami game, maybe. All the wide receivers are probably day one producers. You think the receivers are day one producers? I feel like Bethel Roman. I feel like they're all light. Maybe. It's possible. That'd be crazy if they all play. I can't rule it out. They seem a little small to me, but they could grow. I don't know. Yes, I agree. Jernigan and Lockhart play. Mile Davis is an early playing time dark horse. He's dark horse, very, very physical, mature body for his age, so it's very possible. And that might have been what set Damani over the top. Remember when Damani started, you were saying you never expected it? He was coming off of, I think, an ACL tear, and he still played. I know he had, I don't know if he didn't play his senior year or he sat out part of his senior year because of the injury. It was surprising to see him play and just take over the position right away. Busty needs to play the 2020 Anais role. I would love it. I hope Busty plays in a big way. I hope he's that guy right away. Rolando asks, is Tyreek Chappelle officially back? We really think he is. Jeb says, Billy says he's basically coming back. This is an interesting one. I should have said it while Theo was on, but it's okay. Mark Passwater said the staff wanted Denver Harris, but the team didn't want him back. Denver Harris is now at UTSA here in San Antonio. Yeah, you don't want to mess with the locker room if the team doesn't want him. And if this is all true, I mean, kudos to the coaching staff for going to the team for something like this, like asking for the team's opinion on this. That's huge. Don't add him if the team doesn't want him. That's a great move. Gary says the team knows more. Absolutely. Jordan Lockhart's potential leader. I know, man. When you have this much positivity circling a kid, it's kind of like how it was with York when York first came in. The glowing reviews from everybody about York, his attitude, his ability, and he ended up being a producer. When there's smoke, there's fire. We're really hoping this Lockhart works out, and it could be in year one. It'd be exciting to see. All right, let's get into the callers again. Uh-oh, Vudge, you're not connected. Can you connect real quick and I can get you on? Yeah, I see Vudge. He's adjusting. We'll get Vudge in here in just a second. Then we'll get to the redshirt sophomore. Ernest Campbell will probably redshirt. Yeah, he's real small. That's the only problem. He's super small. Bethel Roman and Williams have a chance. Maybe, man. I mean, they have the height and the speed. They're both kind of light, but put on 5-10 pounds, who knows? All right. Vudge, you're on with Drew. It's good to hear from you, Vudge. What's on your mind tonight?
Nothing much, man. How's it going? It's been a minute. I've been catching your YouTube stuff every now and then, but Wednesdays are generally tough. Good to see you Thursday live show.
Yeah, I'm moving some to Thursday now, just kind of testing it out during the off season. It's time to test things and see how they go. Sure. And seems like a lot of people like the Thursday, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm glad you called in tonight. What you got?
Yeah, man. So I mean, there's not much to say about the class that hasn't already been said. If I did grade Elko this far, probably like A-. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. 2 months of work. He's done a good job. We lost some guys, and he lost some recruiting battles. I wasn't one of the ones I was ever really concerned about his recruiting prowess.
Okay.
I don't think A&M will really ever have that issue because we've already seen Jimbo do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the second NIL started, we had the best class.
Right.
So I don't think it's like really something to worry about going on in the future. Someone had mentioned earlier, development is a big thing. And as it relates to this class, you know, I mean, it's the same thing in college football every year. They're probably mostly depth guys.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see. Like, I think we have talent on the roster, which is what made the job cool to begin with. And the timing of when we got Elko is probably the most valuable thing out of all of it, because, you know, when the season ended, it was just this waterfall of coaches leaving, you know, Saban just sent everything around immediately. So it was cool to have that, you know, leg up in terms of, okay, here's who the coach is for all those guys that would ultimately try and transfer.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick on that,
yeah.
I was saying that when A&M fired Jimbo and didn't have a plan right away as far as who the successor would be, I think the plan was to get a jump on the market and a jump on the calendar, and that's the main benefit from doing it when you did right after that Mississippi State game. Because you think about a position that Bama's in, sure, they had a playoff run, that they're very happy with that. They're playing catch up, and a lot of the scene is kind of settled down by the time they're now looking at the portal or looking at coaching acquisitions or whatever it is. And A&M's not in a position like Bama where they're coming off of winning right away, maybe not able to have their pick of the litter, if you will, right off the bat, even though A&M does have options. The timing was great, especially getting ahead of it before the calendar got crazy. That's a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I mean, you got to feel for DeBoer. Obviously, he's making millions. You can't feel too bad for him.
Right.
But to be the first guy after Saban, number one, is, you know, it's tough. I believe in his coaching ability. I wanted him to come to A&M. But, you know, Bama's a little different beast, you know?
That's a tough act to follow, and some ravenous fans that are not going to be very patient. I mean, I always talk about how I'm from San Antonio, and Spurs fans are very impatient after dealing with the Tim Duncan Big Three era and coming off of David Robinson before that, and then now having to deal with lottery seasons. Some antsy, angry, impatient fans. And Bama is coming off of the best era maybe of college football ever. So, it's going to be tough for DeBoer. I don't know how much wiggle room he gets. I don't know how much leeway he gets. It's going to be interesting to see. I think he's totally capable, but I do think there's going to be a dip before he gets that thing cruising, at least a relative dip for Bama. But,
For sure. I agree completely. So I mainly came on here because I wanted to ask you a question, sort of a hypothetical, but what in your mind, you know, based on just like the reality of what the situation would look like, would a good season in 2024 look like? And I don't mean like we go undefeated, win the Natty. I mean like where we're happy with everything Elko's done this far, but where we say, okay, here's our new head coach, and now we're moving forward, and we're like the expectations and reality have sort of met. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a tough question. I need to see how things continue to play out to gauge my full expectations. But I'll say right now, I mean,
I'll ask again as we get closer to the season, but you know, just with everything this far.
Yeah, absolutely. So based on the portal pieces he's gathered, he's gotten a lot of guys with experience that could probably fill in gaps. Based on the coaching staff, which I think based on what we were seeing from Jimbo, it has to be at least somewhat of an upgrade. I think there's going to be an adjustment period. At this point, I would like to see 8 wins, with one of those wins being Texas, and then a bowl win after that. That would make me feel really good. That would make me feel really confident going into 2025. And then from that point on, if we have that kind of a year where you beat Texas, you win your bowl game. I mean, these are all hypotheticals. I'm being very direct.
You know, but that's the stage of the season we're in right now.
We're in hypothetical season, absolutely. But imagine going into 2025 after what we would deem as a great start to the Elko era, if you will.
Yeah.
We would feel very good about that. And I hope it's not a 7-win year, but if it is a 7-win year, same scenario, you beat Texas, you win your bowl game, that's momentum going into the next year. I don't want to see dip below 7. I could tolerate 7 in that scenario, but
there's some games on our schedule, man, where you could be like, oh, this might be you know.
Yeah.
I forgot what the word is, but
like tricky or winnable or like just weird
where you know, just we go in expecting to get the dub, and then
yeah, absolutely, that's 100% right. So the thing about this schedule, Budge, in my opinion, I think I said it in the show already, but I'm going to repeat things over this offseason. It's going to happen. So
my bad.
No, you're good. I say there are 12 wins on this schedule, possibly. I think every game is winnable. I don't see like this hurdle like a Georgia or going to Bama or even like going to Ole Miss next year, going to LSU, or even going to like a Tennessee or going to Texas, something like that. Your tough games are at home. Yeah. They're all losable. Your road games are your quote unquote easier SEC games, but we know how SEC games are on the road, and just just talk about A&M's road track record over the last 10 years. I mean, it's been tough. So you could lose any of those. I mean, you could lose at South Carolina. You could lose at Mississippi State, and they're one of the probably bottom 2 teams projected going into the SEC, going into the year next year in the SEC. So
Yeah.
is highest ceiling I think there is to the season. I think the season does have a pretty low floor, unfortunately. So with no built-in like death traps on it, that's the nice thing about the season. You don't have those dreaded what you would say is an auto loss, like I was mentioning. So yeah, it has a high level of variance, I would say. As far as a schedule can go, is just projecting. I mean, you're out of conference game. You start home versus Notre Dame. That's hard to predict. That's a hard game to predict. That's going to be a toss up. Essentially.
Dude, and I mean, one of the things that's so unique about this year over like the last kind of 5 or 6 is that we're not going into it ranked.
Right.
So it's like it's just gonna, if we beat Notre Dame, it's just gonna propel. Crazy shit.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been saying as well, is that Notre Dame game, I mean, you play at Florida a couple weeks after that. That Notre Dame game can really cause positive momentum. I mean, the belief within their new coaching staff, some of the players that have been around for a while, I mean, just that's such a boon if you go out there and you have that big win. Imagine the atmosphere. Game 1 of Mike Elko and it's Notre Dame. Not only that, it's his former quarterback, Riley Leonard. It's his former team he's coached for. I mean, that's just a huge matchup, man. And that could be a tone setter because, like, Florida's down, but I could see at Florida being a tricky game for A&M if A&M plays like they've played the last couple of years.
For sure.
Yeah,
and it's interesting because in terms of, we had a lot of guys leave, but in so many of them were just from that class. So in terms of roster retention, there's still so much you can play with. Like having a Wegman here, having just a solid quarterback room. In totality, I think is such a leg up, generally speaking. And then when I talk to my buddies about it, like one of my concerns right now is in the future, does an Elko get a better quarterback room than he has right now? Because this is probably one of the best ones we've had, if not the best one we've had in the Jimbo era.
Right. And you think that's a good point because you think about the projecting every year of Jimbo before the season, looking at the team, there was always some level of uncertainty in the quarterback room. There was always a weird quarterback battle, maybe a surprising quarterback battle. You thought Haynes King was the guy that would have it, but then they would say it's a battle between King and Calzada. Kellen Mond, we liked some of Kellen. A lot of people didn't like Kellen.
I got love for Kellen, man.
I got love for Kellen too. I think he was huge in that 2020 year. But, I mean, it wasn't like a sure thing that Kellen was going to have a great year like that. But this 100%. Is the first year we can sit down and say, hey, we're 3 deep at quarterback, and if something happens, we're confident in the next guy. Like, we've seen it from every guy. So will it get better than it is right now? It's hard to get it that good 3 deep in today's day and age, right? I mean, the way guys can just get up and leave. But the smoke around DJ Lagway, we were close on that battle, and what Theo just said, that maybe that battle goes on for a couple more months. Maybe he gets pushed to the second signing period. Maybe A&M gets him. So that's a good early, short, like minuscule track record sample size. I mean,
probably plays. Sorry.
No, you're good. If that's a sign, maybe he can get that kind of guy. But
for sure,
I don't know. This is a pretty damn good quarterback room. I mean, from top to bottom, you got Connor Wigman, and you got 2 guys. I mean, they're both pretty. I mean, you wouldn't feel bad if you had to play them. I wouldn't feel bad if I had to play Marcel Reed. He looked great in the bowl game.
Absolutely.
All things considered. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that analysis, top to bottom. I think in terms of, because I'm trying to kind of look towards the future a little bit, because in my mind, no matter what happens with the season, unless it's just some, just lightning in a barrel type season, know, it's just kind of, it is what it is, and then we're looking forward. And so I'm excited to see what the roster looks like. I think it'll look even more different a year down the road.
Sure.
So I think Klein probably plays like the biggest part in terms of what the future of that looks like. I just hope we can see something where getting first downs isn't like such a miracle every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, every drive felt desperate. Every possession was like points were at a premium. Like you had to score. I felt like we were in our heels every game just because moving the ball was so difficult. It just felt like we were always playing from behind. Even if it was a close game or even if we had a lead, like the LSU game, it felt like, just a matter of time before the offense slowed down. And I think Colin Klein and Tommy Moffitt are hand in hand the two biggest needle movers in this coaching staff acquisition period. Yeah. Both of those guys, I think, make tangible improvements to this roster. in year one. I mean, it's not hard to guess that that's the case, right? I mean, it was so stagnant before. So, yeah, and the future looks good because, I mean, I like the receivers you added this freshman class for 3 years down the road, and with Colin Klein and with the Moffitt system of development for these guys. So, yeah, that's a great point.
For sure. Hey, man, I won't stay on too long. I just, with Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, he won it?
Yeah.
Nice.
He got it.
That's awesome.
He got it.
I love it.
But,
love it.
So my freshman year at A&M was his last year there when everyone knew he was going to be like a first-round pick.
Yep.
First overall pick. And I used to live at the Cottages at the time, right by that Rattlers. And it was like a late night, probably doing a lot of something I should have been doing.
Right.
And one of my
as
boys,
you do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of my boys threw me to that Rattlers, and I just like really wanted to get some fucking snacks and a Gatorade.
Yeah.
So we get in there, and then this nice ass Audi pulls up, like just clean as shit. And we're like, damn, who is this? And then Miles pops out, and I'm like walking out as he's coming in, and I have 2 king size Reese's in my hands. My fucking face is like the sweatiest thing ever. And I'm like, hey, Miles, can I get a picture? And he's like, nah, dog. And then he just walks in.
He said, nah. Oh,
I was
my
like,
God.
no, dude. Please.
That is so funny. Hey, you met Miles, though, dude. That's huge.
Miles, dog.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
before you go, I got a Miles story, too. So I overlapped with Miles as well. So
Yeah.
it was his spring after he was done playing. He was just training for the NFL, getting ready for the combine, all that stuff. My brother lived at the barracks.
Nice.
And I went over to his house. I was returning some stuff I had borrowed from him. And I go in. I just opened the door. Everyone's on the ground doing push-ups. I'm like, why is everybody doing push-ups in here? It's really weird. It's really weird. I close the door, and behind the door, Myles Garrett is just standing there. And I put my hand out, and I shake his hand. I'm like, I'm Andrew. And he goes, I'm Miles. And I was like, what is happening right now? So one of my brother's roommates is really good boys with Miles to this day. He was at the ceremony with him tonight. So he would come over, but apparently all Miles would do is train. They had the deck of cards, and whatever card they pulled, they had to do that many push-ups, and they would just do that while they're hanging out. So Miles was like training 24/7, and nicest guy. It was like a firm but respectful handshake. Just a great dude. But yeah, that's kind of funny, man. Yeah, we both had our Miles stories. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's man. I love A&M. I hope we fucking ball out this season.
Oh, man, I feel like we are. All right, Vudge, man. It was great to hear from you, man. Call back anytime.
For sure.
Later. All right, that was Vudge. That was a great call. Man, the Myles Garrett era at A&M. That was great. That's so funny we both had the Miles story. All right, let's catch up on chat, and then we're going to get into the red shirt sophomore. Excited to hear from this guy. Bama has over like 30 guys leaving. I think they're going to have some more guys leave after spring potentially. I think they've done a good job keeping as much as they can around for spring just to let things play out because, I mean, you're at Bama. The board just went to the championship. I don't know why you just rush to leave that situation. I guess it's just not playing for Nick Saban, right? A great season would be 9-3. That would be a great season. Can you imagine doing 9 or 10 games this season? It's not impossible. I don't know if I'd bet on it. You'd be disappointed with 7-5. I'd be disappointed at 7-5 unless we beat Texas and go to a bowl game and win the bowl game. Gary expects 8+ wins. 7 is unsatisfactory. Okay. Bowling Green, potential of being a game that could leave us scratching our heads. In the Jimbo era, for sure. I don't know. I hope we're past that with Elko. But they're not bad, absolutely. It's just like Jeb says. Ton of NFL talent on offense. That O-line on paper is stacked. They played really bad. They had regression. Huge bodies, huge athleticism. The receivers, the running backs. Moss, Owens, Donovan Green, Moose, Jade, Noah Thomas. Yeah, absolutely, man. Trey Zune, I thought, had the cleanest year on the O-line last year. If he progresses forward again this year, he could be really damn good. And then obviously Connor. Yep. I love it. Hoping Nick Scorton could be like a Myles Garrett for us, like a game changer at the edge. Man, I know. I want to see the results in drum majors and yell leaders switching roles. Last time that happened was 99. Give me some of that. Give me some of that craziness. I need that. Undefeated at home. Protect Kyle Field. Man, if we go undefeated at home this year with the home slate, they're going to switch positions. Used to see Miles play b-ball in the rec. Yep, he was always there, and so was Caruso. Caruso held the door open for me at the rec once, and it was like an awkward door hold. He was like a solid 20 yards ahead of me, and he held the door. Great guy. All right. I'm excited for this one. The red shirt sophomore, you're on with Drew. It's great to hear from you, man. What's on your mind tonight?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. We got you. We got you loud and clear, man. How's it going?
All right. What's up? It's Matthew, by the way, not Christopher. That guy stinks.
Okay, so guys, that's his brother. Okay, so Matthew is with the Red Shirt Sophomore podcast. Some of you guys probably caught when I was on their show last week. If you haven't subscribed to them, go subscribe to them. They cover the whole landscape of college football. But Matthew right here, he's their resident Aggie, and I'm excited to hear what he has to say tonight. What you got tonight, Matt? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, look, I introduced myself as Matthew, but I mean, was it a surprise? I mean, did you think CD was going to call into A&M recruiting class 2024?
There's not going to be a gopher calling in on this 2024 talk. No way. No, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. You had to introduce yourself, though.
Yeah. Oh, Asian Persuasion in the chat. Thank you, sir, for the name. Appreciate it. That was a CD name, I believe, came up with that one. So, but yeah, what I want to talk about is who do you think is going to like start a linebacker? You know, everyone's talking about these linebackers that we have in this class, but like we know one, right? We know one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is tough, man. It is such a battle, right? They're gonna duke it out. That you got a bunch of names, so I want to pull a list up so I don't miss anybody. But the two guys we just mentioned, Jernigan and Lockhart, I mean, for true freshmen, I think they both have a chance. I don't know if they're gonna start, but I think they're gonna play. I want to pull up a list of everybody so I don't miss anybody. Is Martrell Harris still around? Can you tell me that? Do you know? You with me, Matt? Matthew? Well, Martrell Harris, I think if he's around, he should have a chance, but he didn't play much last year. You have Damian Stanford. Let me pull up the names because I want to... Oh, I think we got you back, Matthew. We're having technical difficulties here. Damian Stanford is like a guy that I was projecting as the starter. You have Scooby Williams now, who actually brings starting experience now. Oh, I got you back. You were cutting out for a bit.
Okay, sorry about that. Someone's trying to call me.
Oh, no worries. So, don't they know you're on a show? I'm just kidding. No, it's all good.
Hey, come on, don't they know us? I mean, okay. What do you think of Scooby Williams? Because like when I watch him play, like I'm looking at his high school scouting report or whatever. It's like, oh, instincts. The guy rated him as like 10 out of 10, and I'm like, that's like the one thing I feel like that's not there. And I don't know if that was a coaching thing where like, you know, he has the athleticism for sure. I mean, that's why he started. Right. But like I don't know. I'm not sure if this is an insanely complicated system because like the linebackers, you know, he loves to play that, or Mike Elko, likes to play that, you know, put 6 guys on the line of scrimmage, right, and then make these 18-year-olds figure out who to block, right? So I like an athletic linebacker in this situation because maybe he doesn't have to think as much. You know, maybe you just got to get after the quarterback. I believe he was an edge rusher in high school but I don't know. All that. Yeah. Maybe someone else knows better.
I do think that the tools are there for Scooby, and he obviously struggled for what was expected of him at Florida. I think he's the kind of guy with a change of scenery, he can be a producer, and I would not be surprised if he's the day one starter. Being I think he's the most mature. Is he going to be the most senior linebacker? He's a junior, right? Or is he a sophomore?
I think he's a junior, but Alex Howard, I believe, is in his 4th.
That's right. Year. See, that's a name.
That's a guy I like. I like Alex Howard a lot, man. Yeah. I really do. And like, it's hard to find a lot of like, good film on him because he's from Youngstown State, but there's some good football players in Ohio, man. He's from Cincinnati, I believe, the same school like David Montgomery ended up going to as well. So he comes from like a football school. He played. Football. He led his team in tackles. I mean, PFF grades were off the charts. Yeah. Especially in like run defense. I mean, he was, and you saw him play Division I football at a high level. Ohio State, like, he played phenomenal. He had 8 tackles, a sack, like a tackle for loss. Like he was everywhere, man.
You know what?
So
this might be our starter right here. Yeah, this might be our starter right here. I think you're going to see a deeper rotation at linebacker than last year. I think I mentioned it on your show. Last year, Edgerrin Cooper just played the whole game essentially, and you had Chris Russell there to sub in at any time. And then Torrin York played so well you couldn't take him off the field. I think this year's the year you see 4, maybe at times 5 guys play linebacker. There's just so many bodies out there. You can keep them fresh. You can get different looks from different guys. You have so many worthy athletes to play right now. But I like Alex Howard. I like Scooby. I like a guy like Damian Sanford. I mean, I don't even know who's the starter. For me, it's throw any name out there, and whichever name emerges, I'm going to trust is the best and perform the best in camp because the competition's going to be fierce. So if you had to guess right now, what would you say?
I mean, so my prediction is actually whoever starts that first game at linebacker is not going to finish the season at linebacker. I think that you're right that they will rotate guys and they will find someone, but it might take the rhythm of the season to figure that out.
Sure.
My first guess, I think, is Damian Sanford. Dude, I loved him coming out of high school. He was on and he's one of those guys, like, if you get like a 3-star to like gets a 4-star bump late, that's it's pretty telling sometimes, and I like that a lot. And I mean, I'll be rooting for guys like Chance Johnson, but I don't think he sees the field next year. But I would say Damian Sanford or probably Scooby Williams, but I don't think it's very possible that Alex Howard ends up taking that spot. By the end of the year.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, we might have to see some settling as the year goes on with positions like that. Maybe a defensive back, too. I think we see some movement there over the course of the year. So many names, so many guys that can play, especially at corner. I mean, along those same lines, and this is even harder to project, who starts at corner? I mean, that's kind of tough. If Chappelle comes back, which we think he is he given the reins just for coming back? I don't think so. I think he has to fight for it. I think that's going to be another battle amongst everybody. Who do you see as a couple of contenders to start next year?
Yeah, I think you're right about Chappelle. Like, if he comes back, I think it's definitely he's going to have to battle for that spot. Now he has an advantage because he's played in that defense before.
Yep.
Right, and Elko took a chance of him starting as a true freshman. So there is that trust sense there. So my guess would be that he starts day one, but we're not entirely sure because when I look at a guy like BJ Mays with starting experience, who I think is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how high I am on Jaden Hill, but we'll see. I mean, the competition can bring out the best in guys for sure. My projection would be Chappelle, Will Lee, and then probably BJ Mays if I had to guess. But also who plays nickel? There's a lot of. I mean, probably Bryce Anderson, right? But then safety's another question mark too. Is it Jacoby Matthews? Does Dalton Brooks play safety? I mean, Elko recruited a ton of big ass safeties. I mean, does he like Marcus Radcliffe? I've heard great things about. I mean, I'm not sure that he starts because he's still got 3 years of eligibility left. But
right. I
mean, how do you keep a guy like DeRicky Wright off the field who has SEC starting experience?
I know.
And that's a guy that I love. That's a guy that I think if he really tried, he could play linebacker. I know for some reason, Vanderbilt, you have this guy who's 6'4", 220, and he played 90% of his snaps over the top as free safety. Mm-hmm. And I was so confused by that. But I don't know. I guess, what do I know, right? What do I know?
Yeah, what do you know? Yeah, man, I mean, there are certainly options out there, and my gut tells me, my instincts as far as those safeties, nickels, they're all kind of interchangeable, especially with Bryce Anderson being able to play anything, at least we think. I mean, I think you potentially name the 3 starters there, at least if I were to guess. It would be Dalton Brooks, Jacoby Matthews, and Bryce Anderson. And I think Bryce Anderson starts at nickel. He played there last year. He was productive. I think he still has one of the highest ceilings in this defensive back room. I mean, obviously. I would project those 3 guys as starters. I want to get your opinion on one guy in particular, though, that I'm having some trouble gauging. Jared Kerr. I like a lot of what I see from him in spells, but I hear a lot of hate for Jared Kerr. A lot of he's too slow. A lot of he's not going to make it with this room. I actually have high hopes for him. What do you see from Jared?
Yeah, I just don't see him at nickel.
Yeah.
It's more the thing with me. I could see him at safety. I mean, he's not slower than Damani Richardson. I mean, if you look at if you go to actually zebra.com, they do like really nice stats for the Senior Bowl and the East West Shrine Bowl. I'm pretty sure Damani Richardson finished in like the way bottom tier of top speeds for DBs in the East West Shrine Bowl.
Yeah,
he was not a burner, right? No. And you don't need a burner at strong safety. I think Jared Kerr at times is a good tackler. For some reason the DB unit as a whole struggled with tackling. I wouldn't put that on Jared Kerr specifically, but it's just nickel's not it, right? And we saw this with Damani Richardson too, who struggled in man coverage.
Yes.
Like putting him at safety, like he was able to. Like Damani Richardson will not get drafted. All right, I hate to break the news to everyone here that's hoping to wait to hear his name called on NFL draft weekend. Yeah. It's not going to happen, right? Yeah. But he'll get his opportunities somewhere, on a practice squad, or maybe a chance at strong safety. But like, asking him to be in man coverage, asking Jerry Kerr to go in man coverage, I think is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do like him as a player, if that makes sense. I'm with you. I think that the hate is kind of undeserved. I think just don't put him at nickel, man. Just put him at strong safety. Leave him there.
I wouldn't mind him in the rotation next year, but now that you have so many guys that are worthy, I don't know. Jeb here, Asian Persuasion, is saying he could be the odd man out as a transfer portal candidate in spring. That's one that wouldn't surprise me if it worked out that way. But I don't know. I was hopeful for him until now we have all these names in here. So on the freshman class that just wrapped up, give me a couple of your personal highlights on it, and maybe I'll ask you the next question next. Give me a couple of your personal highlights from this freshman class that aren't Terry Bussey.
Well, I'll say highlights like recruiting in the state of Florida, man.
Right.
I mean, like and late, and that was late, and that was all Mike Elko. You know, like going into Tampa. Sorry. It was easy because the Williams they're attend the same school, right?
Yep.
But that was really nice for me. And one guy that I think is not getting enough attention, but we have talked about him on here a lot. At least I've heard callers talk about him, and you talk about him. Robert Bourdon, dude. And we had talked about his athleticism playing lacrosse, and I think one of the callers mentioned he played defender.
Yeah.
His highlights though, like the first half of his lacrosse highlights, are him playing forward, moving at 6'6", 292 pounds, playing forward. Yeah, we're talking short stick, hand-eye coordination, absolute top cheese with this kid. So I'm
Tailor made for Colin Klein, right? With the way he moves his linemen around. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And like I would expect him to play tackle, but I mean, who knows? I mean, put him at guard if he's moving like that. I don't know. So I love that. And then the speed of the linebacker or the wide receiver group. You've already talked about it. So that's just. I mean, you got 4 or 5 guys with like serious track speed. I mean, Ernest Campbell is obviously the headliner in terms of speed. Ashton Bethel Roman ran track in high school. Isaiah Williams ran track in high school. I like the speed there.
When's the last time we had a super speedy receiver room like this trio could be? I mean, it's been a while, right? I mean, I don't know Evan was a pretty fast guy. I think Evan had some speed, but he couldn't get separation. But, I mean, a lot of guys on this receiving core right now, I think you would call maybe Jade a possession receiver. You would maybe call Noah a possession receiver. I don't know if you want to put that big label on them. But this is speed that we haven't seen in the receiver room in quite a while, especially straightaway speed with Isaiah and Bethel Roman. I'm really excited to see how they project over the next few years. I do think they're going to take some time to develop and play. They're a little bit smaller. It's not impossible, though. Do you think any of those receivers can see the field next year?
I think Ashton Bethel Roman might see the field like a little bit, and this is way too early to actually tell. But
yeah, sure.
The reality is you're 100% right. Like you nailed it. These kids need time to develop. I'm not sure how polished, specifically Ashton Bethel Roman is like, topping off his routes, but he's very good straight line speed. He has great hands. He's made contested catches over and over again. If you watch his film, he's really good. So I like this receiver class a lot, but you're right. It's going to take time, but there's still speed. Like if you bring in Jabri Barber, he's pretty fast. Cyrus Allen, dude, I think I don't know if enough people are talking about him, man. I think he plays a lot day one.
I do too. I think he's a candidate for a lot of early playing time. He's one of my guys. I think I highlighted on your show. I think he's exactly what the receiver room needed, right? That first guy off the bench. He could be that fourth receiver in some packages. I mean, that guy was a huge grab. That guy was like a direct address, like directly addressing an area of need on this team, right? I mean, I think he's perfect for what we need. I mean, he was so productive. Was he like he was the 1,000-yard receiver at La Tech, right? He had like 999 yards or something.
Yeah, he was pretty close to 1,000 yards. But the reality, like his quarterback play, like Hank Bachmeier, all loved that guy. But come on, you know. And the thing is, like, he was targeted with an average depth of 15 yards per play, which was a wildly different statistic than every other receiver on his team. You're looking at a 70% contested catch rate. A 70%. Roma Dunze's at 77%, by the way. Like, so you're averaging 15 yards per depth of target and a contested catch of 70%. That is absurd numbers right there.
Oh, yeah.
His quarterbacks, I mentioned how terrible they were. They had a 114.4 passer rating when targeting him. That is wildly different. He wasn't like their leading receiver, right? Because I believe I can't forget his name. He transferred out there too, but Yeah, I mean, the only knock on him is like concentration drops, but okay,
Yeah.
sure. They said that about Julio Jones coming out of the draft. Like, sure, that can get cleaned up, whatever. Like, I love Cyrus Allen like a lot. I really, 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 really like him.
And I'm pretty sure he has 3 years of eligibility left, right? Or maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think he's a sophomore, so I guess he could probably stay for a fifth.
It's huge,
I don't
man.
know.
It's huge. So what? Okay, I guess I'll ask you this now. Transition into this because I thought he was addressing a direct need. I think you can still deal with getting one more experienced wide receiver. I think you're okay if you don't get it, but it'd be nice. What do you think else needs to happen before fall camp? Is there any other addition you need to see? Anything you need to get some clarity on this roster? Where are you at on that front?
Well, we kind of already talked about it. I need clarity at linebacker position for sure. And like underratedly, like I just want to see Donovan Green healthy, if that makes sense. Like the tight end room. I know like we felt very secure with the tight end situation like in the last couple of years, but I still think it's a very, very good room. And you bring in, Eric Garner, like looks like a pretty solid freshman. He probably won't play right away. You bring in Trey Watson, you bring in Garrett Miller. So I just want to see those guys look the part.
Yep.
And be able to compete. I mean, these guys both played. I mean, I guess Trey Watson didn't play, Group G5, he played G5. He didn't play Power 5, like SEC football. Garrett Miller played Big Ten football, so he's good on that. But I mean, Trey Watson, I mean, he was recruited by Kalen DeBoer. Like his first offer from Fresno State actually came from Kalen DeBoer. So I thought that was like a big win because he was committed to Washington because he had that relationship with him. And then when Kalen DeBoer came to Alabama, and all of a sudden I'm seeing on boards like Trey Watson, like all this smoke that he's coming in, I'm like, whoa, like that's a good get. I mean, he's kind of a receiver type, but he's pretty big, 6'5", 245. So I just would like to see that tight end room kind of fill out the way that I know it can. That makes sense.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see Platt. I mean, I liked a little bit of what we saw from him last year. I hope Theo Orstrom can find some production. I mean, there's a chance. There's some guys in that room now. He played a lot last year. He has the great build, the great body. I think he's stellar in that front. But can we see that high-end production from him? I don't know. This room is interesting now, but definitely right about Donovan Green getting healthy, just as a leader on the team too. I mean, that's the kind of guy you need around and producing and kind of permeating the locker room. But yeah, man, if that's all you got, I'm going to leave you with one big question. I want you to grade Elko's first couple of months on the job, from when he got hired to now, right before we're kind of getting into the doldrums before spring ball. What grade would you give him, and just a little explanation on it?
All right. Well, first preface with my grades, right? A B is, I would say, is meeting expectations, right? A C is, you're not meeting expectations. A D is like, okay, like, are we serious about this guy?
Yeah.
An A would be like very much exceeding expectations, right? And I think Mike Elko's very much exceeded expectations. I will give him an A. I'll give him like probably a B plus for the recruiting class. He lost some guys, but he really rebounded. And again, B plus, that's slightly above expectations. I'll take that. An A plus for the transfer portal, and probably a high A, almost A plus for the staff that he put together. For the most part, like I really like that staff as well. I know you like the staff a lot too.
Oh yeah, man, I totally agree. Yeah, I think it's a B plus for the recruiting class, but I think we're happy with that B plus, all things considered. I think we'll take the B plus, especially when you get the portal class hand in hand with it. So I'm totally on board with you. It's an A overall, and then I totally agree with your grades there. Well, all right, Matthew, man, it was great to have you. Any closing thoughts, and maybe tell the people once again where they can find you?
Well, you can find me at the Redshirt Sophomore on YouTube as well as Spotify, and I appreciate you having me on, Drew. I'm pumped to join in future episodes when I see you go live.
Absolutely, man. I'll be on Wednesdays and Thursdays throughout the off season, but we'll settle on a concrete date closer to the season. I'm experimenting right now, but it was great to have you on, Matthew. Appreciate your insight. You have a great night, man.
You too, man.
That was Matthew. Great to have him on. Guys, really go check out his channel. He knows his stuff. You can tell by just hearing him. His brother knows his stuff too. They know A&M and beyond more than I do. So great to hear from him. Appreciate him calling in. All right, let's catch up on the chat. And then we got Lash calling in. I'm excited to hear a happy Lash instead of a angry, burning the horns down sign kind of Lash, which he might still do anyway. We'll see how it goes with Lash. But speaking of Lash, he says, we go 15-0, SEC champs, Natty, yes, I'm high. Right on cue. Right on cue. I'm excited to get into this call. All right. We have a ton of outside linebackers on the roster. It's hard to project a starter for the linebacker room. That's a tough one to guess. There's just so many possibilities there. Gary says coaching is better, corner improved, linebacker improved, quarterback healthy, big one. O-line functioning equals more wins. It has to be, right? It has to be more than 7 wins. And I think I agree. 7 would feel really bad, but beating Texas and winning a big bowl game would be nice. But still, 7, you're right. We need 8, at least. At least. Martrell Harris is apparently still around. Okay, I was curious about that. John says he's still around. Good. Scooby's going to be a baller. He has all the tools on paper. Kind of a rough year at Florida. Got some bad grades in Florida last year, according to PFF. I like Cassius Howell to be a potential starter. Dude, I don't know if he'll start because I think the starting 4 is pretty solid with Scorton and Shamar Stewart on the outside, but you never know. I think Cassius Howell is a huge contributor, Rolando. I totally agree. That's one of my favorite guys in the portal. That's a huge piece in the portal. That's a 10-plus sack guy with a great body, a lot of length. He's a guy that can definitely play early. 100%. State of Ohio produces some good prospects, says Jeb. Yep, it's good to get in on it. After rewatching the Ole Miss game, it can only improve, especially at corner. Corner lost us that game and the Alabama game. I referred to this earlier, but Jeb says Kirk could be the odd man out. I could see it, unfortunately. Even though I'm higher on him the most, I could see him being the odd man out with the personnel in the defensive back room now. Donovan Sanders at safety. Too early to tell. It's going to be a huge fight, which is great. Ted says Harris is still around. Okay, so Harris is still around. I wonder. David says the Troy wide receiver. Yes, another guy who's a huge grab. I think I slightly lean to Cyrus Allen being my preferred of the two, but they're both exactly what you needed in the receiver room. You needed some productivity, some experience to go in there because you only really had 3 experienced guys. Let's see if I can find him. I forget. I'm terrible with names. Matthew is great with names, the redshirt sophomore. I am awful with names. It takes me like a season to remember everyone's names. Yeah, Jabari Barber or Jabre. I don't know which one it is. But, yeah, I think he's definitely in the back end of the rotation next year. He was very productive at Troy. Thanks for bringing him up, David. Terry, greater than Evan Stewart. Let's go. Let's go. I think Terry's character is a total contrast from Evan Stewart, right? Total opposite. Like, Evan Stewart was like, and nothing against it. I get building your brand. But Evan Stewart was all about that, all about the TikTok, all about the social media, the flash. Terry Bussey is not about that stuff, at least not yet. That was evident in his signing day decision. Jeb says a lot of good callers tonight. Yeah, great callers tonight. Good job, guys. Y'all did a great job. All right. Lash, you're on with Drew. It has been a while, Lash. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, just peachy. It's been a good week.
Hasn't it?
Yeah, well, we hung on to Bussey. No going to LSU.
They got their hopes up. They made the mistake of getting their hopes up. They were disappointed.
Yeah, that'll teach them.
Yeah.
Anytime anything like that happens to LSU, the only 2 things that make me happier is when they happen to either Bama or TU.
Right. It's like that's like your big 3 right there. Yeah, man. I know you're on X. I've seen you on X. If you go look at my X, and this is to everybody listening, if you want to see some trash talk with LSU fans, man, we were going back and forth all day today. I've been on this kick where I say College Station's better than Baton Rouge, and they're not liking it. They're not liking it at all. And they're coping about Bussey. They're quote tweeting me. It was a lot of fun on X today. If you guys care to check that out. But yes, it's been fun to poke the bear that is LSU after they missed out on Bussey, Lash.
Yeah, all you have to do to shut the people in Baton Rouge up is remind them that they're perennially on the list of most dangerous cities in the country.
That's so funny. And that
College Station, you can walk down the frickin' street,
Yeah, that's true. And I didn't even bring that up, but a lot of them got very defensive about that before I even had the chance to bring up the fact that it's a dangerous city. I wasn't aware that it was that dangerous, but apparently they're aware of it. Yeah.
It's preemptive first strike. It's like it's like a murder trial when you when you've got a client that's guilty as sin, you know what the prosecution has on them, so you bring it up first so you can minimize it and kind of let the air out of their balloon.
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what they were doing. I did. So apparently, remember Leon O'Neal, obviously. He was going at it with LSU fans yesterday, and he brought up the fact that it's so unsafe there and students shouldn't go there, whatever. He went to the next level. I usually don't go that far. So they were all on high alert. They brought it up before I even had to. You're absolutely right there, Lash.
Yeah, you don't leave that campus without unless you're part of a fairly large group. And if you're a woman, you make sure you have at least one large guy with you.
Right.
Seriously. I mean, College Station, you can walk down the street and the worst thing that's going to happen is somebody may come staggering out of the Dixie Chicken and bump into you.
Right. That's the worst of it. Yeah, man. I enjoyed my time in College Station. I don't know if I'd ever settle down there unless I had a major job involved with A&M, but I really enjoyed my time in College Station. The people were nice. The town wasn't, I mean, at times it felt crowded, but it really wasn't that crowded. It had everything you needed within a very short drive. It had like it had a small town feel, but it didn't. As a guy that grew up in San Antonio, it didn't feel too much different than home, which was really nice. So I loved College Station.
Yeah, I went there from Chicago. It was culture shock.
That's different. Yeah, that's a big change.
but I loved it. A little bit of history. What the whole reason College Station came to be was they built A&M there, and the reason they built A&M there was they wanted it far enough away, all of 6 miles, from the quote-unquote big city of Bryan.
Ah, right. Now it's all just one big city, yeah.
Yep, and there's actually more people in College Station than there are in Bryan.
Of course. Yeah, with 70,000 undergrad students on campus or whatever it is. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's 72 the last I heard.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. It's growing like crazy. I mean, every time I go, every new season, I mean, I usually
it
only
goes
go
back and forth with UCF for the largest in the country.
Wow. I didn't realize UCF was so big. That's interesting. Well, what's on your mind tonight, Lash? I mean, I'm sure you're feeling good about the way Elko closed, aren't you? You have any thoughts on it?
It's like, yep. 15-0 SEC natty. And man, this is some really good stuff I've been smoking.
Right. Hey, you know what? It's hard not to be at least a little bit optimistic right now, at least compared to how we felt in stages over the last couple of months. I mean, when we were kind of just struggling along with the season under Jimbo, and then when we didn't have a coach, and then we were wondering if Elko had what it take to be a SEC head coach, and we had confidence, but we had to see it play out. And now, I mean, we're all smoking that same thing that you are right now. At least I'm smoking a little bit of it.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention the whole Stoops fiasco.
Oh, I know. I was like, what is this program doing? What's our direction here? I mean,
Bjork, you want to go to Columbus? I'll help you pack.
Yeah, right. A lot of people were helping him pack. A lot of people sent him a little pat on the butt as he walked out the door there.
No, I wouldn't have patted him there. I would have used a different appendage.
Yeah.
As I used to say to my physics kids when I was teaching, the concept of acceleration due to foot.
Yeah.
There's the door. Wham.
Yeah. Some Red Foreman action. I know.
Yep. Yeah, I loved Red Foreman. It's like, you two morons just hung vacancy signs on your asses, and my foot's looking for a room.
Yeah. That's you with Bjork right there. That's you right there. I see some Red Foreman there. Yeah. More thoughts on the class. I mean, Bussy. I mean, Solomon Williams, the way he closed late. I don't know. Did you expect it from Elko, or what were you expecting from him?
I was hoping. I wasn't expecting. It's like, when Bussy signed, and then it's like, I wonder, can it get any better than this? And then we got that other guy.
Bethel Roman, the receiver. I know.
The guy from Arkansas.
Yeah, I know. It was. He had already exceeded my expectations with the portal, and the coaching staff. Quite frankly, just how clean it came together, and then to close strong, man. We're feeling good going into the quiet portion of the year.
Yeah, if he can develop the talent halfway as well as he used the portal and closed on some of our top recruits. We could surprise some people this year. It could be, dare I say it, could be like Kevin Sumlin's first year, where we snuck up on Bama, and
Yeah, absolutely.
If we had that slow start against Florida and LSU, we could have won the thing that year.
Yeah, man, I know. I think that's on the table, Lash, and like I keep saying, I think this season has a high level of variance. It could go one direction, it could go the other. High
ceiling and a low floor, like you said before.
Yeah, there's no easy game really on the schedule outside the few non-cons, and I mean the home games are tough, but they're at home, and the away games we've been bad on the road.
Away games were away games. That's all you need to say.
Yep.
Until we prove Till we prove we can beat somebody on the road, I'm worried about them.
100%.
They are Mississippi State, Florida, and South Carolina.
Right, but if I were to pick my away games, Lash, those would be 3 of the ones I would pick this season.
Yeah, Vanderbilt would be the other one if I got to choose.
That's always a huge boost to your schedule. If you draw the at Vandy on your SEC schedule, it takes up an SEC game and it takes up a road game.
Yeah, then I remember when we got Vandy at home and beat them by 2 points.
That was the 2020 year, yes.
Yeah, and Jimbo was like, "Oh, but the one good thing about this is we won, so I get to be mad all week."
Yeah. That was a good quote actually. I'll give Jimbo credit on that one. That's kind of funny. But yeah, the schedule it's just a balanced schedule. I think every game has very good shot of going either way. And then it starts with Notre Dame, which is really strange, and it ends with Texas, which, relative to the last 10 years, is really strange. So
that could be bookends either way.
Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting.
Could be bookends on a 7-5 or bookends on a 10-2.
Yeah, they're huge. It's huge. It's your entry and your exit. It's your tone setter and your last message. So. It's a very fun. I like the schedule a lot as far as the fan perspective. I like it for the team. They're gonna have some great matchups at home. I mean, the Kyle Field atmosphere next year, these home games, it's gonna be the best it's been in a long time as far as just sustained good games at home throughout the year.
I don't really see a trap game in any of those.
I do, Lash. I have one for you. I have one trap game, and it's hard to say it's a trap game because it's a tough place to play always. But at Auburn the week before we play Texas, I don't know if it's a trap game, but I think
that's true. I forgot about that one.
It might just be a straight up tough game.
But we haven't won Mississippi State in a while, so I don't see us overlooking that one.
Yeah.
The Swamp is always a tough place to play, and there's going to be a good crowd. So if we can jump on them and take that crowd out of the game, that's a biggie.
Yeah, that win would not be looked at as much of a needle mover nationally, but as an Aggie, and I think all of us would feel the same way based on what we've experienced recently on the road, I would feel damn good if we beat Florida at Florida, no matter what kind of year they have.
And South Carolina is just always a great atmosphere. Like when they play Sandstorm, the beginning kickoff. So even if you're the visitor, it's hard not to get the pulse jumping for that.
I will give their fans a ton of respect because it is hard. I think it's probably hard to be a fan of that team, just how hard it is for them to get the talent, how many down years they've had recently. But that's as passionate a fan base as you'll find out there, the South Carolina fan base.
About Virginia Tech's opening.
Oh, yeah.
South Carolina's is better in my opinion.
Yeah, it's Sandstorm versus Enter Sandman. Yeah, I actually went to a game in Jimbo's first year. I went to the game at South Carolina, and it was awesome. I was in standing room right next to the student section when they had the towels and they're throwing it up with Sandstorm. It was chills inducing. It was
first
awesome.
time I saw that was when they steamrolled Georgia in that stadium. What was like 55-7
That
or
was
something.
crazy. Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming. I'm like, I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
That was all I could say about that whole game.
Yeah, man. I know. It's gonna be interesting, man. I'm excited. I mean, we're 6 months out, but I'm already waiting.
Yeah, those are fans, like you say. If they can endure,
Yeah.
It's a hard place to win just because it's in the SEC, and those fans are always there. They're like Aggie fans. They're always there.
Yes, they absolutely are. And hey, that game, they left at halftime. No, that was 2020. They had to leave it. Well, that was an empty stadium anyway, but I know they have to leave at halftime sometimes when they're getting blown out. But they show up and they're there for the beginning. They're there for Sandstorm. But all right, Lash, I got a question for you. Okay. I've been asking everybody if you wanted to give some grades for Elko in his first couple of months. You can chop it up however you want to. You can go overall or just grade the freshman class. What grades are you giving Mike Elko?
I think I'm where you are. B+ with the possibility of kicking it up to an A- or an A, depending on how things play out in the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's better than I thought we would have been.
I'm a former teacher, so I like to grade low as a motivational tool. It's like, you got a B+ now, but if you do this, and this, you'll have an A by the end of the marking period.
I love it. Yeah, we can't have Coach Elko getting what's it called? Just getting fat and happy on an A+.
Yeah, we don't need to pack his head nice this soon.
Right. No, I mean, I actually, have you listened to any of his press conferences, like the one yesterday? I love what he has to say.
I missed that one, but I've heard some of the ones earlier.
Yeah.
And I like his focus.
Oh yeah. I love his approach. He's very much direct and just matter of fact and straightforward. He was asked yesterday, this is my highlight for me of the whole press conference, just because it was kind of a major contrast to Jimbo. Do you remember when Jimbo would be asked, are there a couple players standing out this camp? And Jimbo would just name the entire team. Well, yeah. They asked Elko, so I know this is a tough thing to do, but can you name a couple of players that you're noticing in the weight room and in training that have stood out in your early time here? And he goes, yeah, I'm gonna refrain from answering that question for the duration of my time here. I can't do that because if I name one, I have to name them all. So I'm just not gonna do that. He stayed away from the question instead of just throwing out some kind of rant or ramble like Jimbo would do before.
Yeah, Jimbo. The more I listen to him, the more I'm like, man, dude, you're in the wrong profession. Remember? Did you ever see? And this is before your time, but did you ever see the movie Oh God with George Burns and John Denver? Okay, well, there's a Paul Sorvino plays this TV preacher, and George Burns is God. He basically he's telling John Denver's the one person that can see him and talk to him, and George Burns is saying, basically, he's telling John Denver that this preacher is full of crap, but you can't have God saying that, especially in the late 70s or early 80s.
Right.
So he says he should get out of the business of preaching. He should sell shoes.
Yeah.
Jimbo should be selling used cars, man, because that's what he sounds like.
You know what? I would, because when he came in, people were calling him a used car salesman or a snake oil salesman, and I think we saw it firsthand. The way he was recruiting so well, and of course there's NIL involved in that, but what kind of vision was he selling? What kind of program was he selling? Because whatever they were expecting, I don't think they got it, and that's evident in how many of his guys have transferred out and how many guys just didn't pan out.
What's the old Texas saying? And this is going to sound funny coming from a Chicago guy, but he's all hat and no cattle.
Exactly. That's perfect, especially coming from a Chicago guy. That was impressive, Lash, to pull that one out. Yeah, man, that's exactly what it turned out to be. I tried really hard to defend him, and in hindsight, it's.
I did up until the last. He went 5-7, and I was willing to overlook that with the classy, with that big recruiting class with a year of experience, and then we had the Alabama game and the Tennessee game were there for the taking, and we blew both of them.
Yeah.
Not to mention the Miami game
and the Ole Miss game. We were right there.
And I'm just like, yeah, Old Miss to boot. And I'm just like, okay, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think he lost me. I was one of the last Mohicans. I was one of the last men standing. I think he lost me in the presser for Tennessee because I was at that Tennessee game. It was on my bucket list. I had to go to Neyland Stadium. I went to the game, and on the drive to the restaurant after, he was talking, and Olin Buchanan, I'm sure everybody here knows who Olin is. He asks really good questions in press conferences, and Jimbo just wasn't handling the tough questions well, just kind of still not giving any kind of clarity or any real answers to anything.
yeah, that was the first time I was thinking acceleration due to foot.
Yeah, that was where I lost him. I think that was the day he officially lost me. Even though I was still thinking they would keep him around for a while, that was the day.
I said, this is the Alabama game all over again, and you
Yes.
think you learned the first time. What's going on here?
Yes, and remember the halftime thing, the decision to take a knee at halftime. I think he did it again versus Tennessee after doing it versus Bama. Is that how it went down? I don't remember. But
Yeah,
the way he defended that decision, it was
the
that
whole thing was you're too afraid to lose. You're too afraid of losing to go out and win.
Not playing to win. And that's how it felt with the offense always being on its heels. Never, I don't know, man. It did feel like he was playing not to lose. And yeah, man.
And the way, what's his name? Perino talked after he left was, I got he never came out and said it, but I got the impression that he never had free reign to completely do what he wanted on offense.
Yeah, that did come out in one of his first interviews. Like I think it was a couple of days after he left A&M. He was like, "Yeah, I was surprised. Jimbo, he made me learn all his terminology, and that left me with some sleepless nights, and we had to adapt to his system, and I thought that was surprising." And that was just, I think that was Petrino being merciful in his dialogue about it, because I don't know. I guess we're jumping to conclusions there, but it did feel like the offense changed a little bit, but not enough.
Like that when I was teaching, it's micromanager, and it's
yes, micromanagement, absolutely.
It's like you'd write a lesson plan, and then the guy would stick his head in your room, and it's like, okay, what do I do now? Do I keep going? What I'm doing is working. Do I keep going, or do I worry about the fact that Big Brother is watching?
Right, exactly. That's exactly where he must have been. Yeah. Then did you ever watch the Pulse, Lash, whenever it would come on Wednesdays?
Yes, I would make myself watch
even on the losses, right? Very tough. It felt like his speeches, like, progressively became less and less spirited. I don't know if that was in my head or just the perception overall of the program affected me.
Let's go through the motions. Because I don't have anything left to say because I can't even defend myself anymore.
Yep.
And what are they going to do? Fire me? I get $70 million to walk away. So
it's true. Obviously, when you have no consequences,
you worry.
Yeah, consequences are kind of like friction. I mean, I should not use a friction analogy to a physics teacher, right? But without them, it's hard for anything to go. I don't know. I'm not going to use a friction analogy with you, but
now with friction is like gravity. Nothing works without either one of them.
Right.
Because people would say, gee, it would be great if there was no gravity, I could fly. And I'm like, yeah, well, how would you control anything?
Right.
And with no friction, what do you do? What do your wheels do? Anybody that's ever been stuck in the snow in Chicago or in the mud in Texas, all your wheels do is spin and you don't go anywhere.
That's exactly right. So I guess the analogy works for Jimbo. It felt like he was without friction. I don't know. That's funny you say that because it froze here in San Antonio, and it was a light freeze, but I lost traction.
That's all you need.
Terrifying.
Especially if you have rear-wheel drive.
Oh, I have rear-view drive. I had city tires. I did not know how to drive in that kind of weather.
Especially all these guys, and don't get me wrong, I love Texas and I love pickup trucks, but you get a little bit of ice, and you go all over the place because there is no weight over the drive wheels.
Oh yeah, I know, it's unbalanced. Yeah,
I had my little front wheel drive car. I could plow through snow drifts.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Yeah, man, it was scary, and I don't know. I guess the analogy stands. One of my biggest fears, and I'm gonna let you go here in a second, Lash. I hope not.
I know it's like 10:30, so
yeah, no worries. But with Jimbo, I kind of fear becoming like some of what we perceived him as. I don't want to be all words covering up my lack of action or lack of productivity in life. I don't want to be like that. That's actually one of my fears. I don't want to be the kind of guy that can kind of talk my way out of situations or make things sound good where things are compounding negatively behind the scenes. And I've had to learn how to talk better because of doing this show. And it's honestly something I'm wary of and fearful of, especially after seeing it happen to Jimbo.
Yeah, it's like pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. And I try real hard not to fall into that or not to let myself become like that. So
I am the great and powerful Jimbo of nothing. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, and don't get me wrong. I don't hate Jimbo. I liked a lot about him. I like his ranches and all that. But no. Anyway, Lash, any closing thoughts tonight? I was glad to have you on as the last caller tonight.
Yeah, just keep up the good work, and same to Elko. Just I hope that this is a harbinger of things to come, that we're going to all be pleasantly surprised in the fall.
I think so, man. And we talked about development. I don't think it can get any worse. I think it's going to at least marginally improve development, scheme, offensively.
It has to. We had too much talent to be 7-5.
I think
let alone 5-7.
I know. I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to start yelling 10-2 or 11-1.
Like Josh Tate said, he had us ranked us fourth in talent.
Yeah.
And the three ahead of us were all playoff teams, and we're like, there's no excuse for 5-7.
I know. And guess what? We're still right up there. And now we have a different man at the helm, so hopefully things are different this year. Well, Lash, I'm going to let you go, man. I appreciate the call. You have a great night.
Yeah, you do the same.
Great call from Lash. There's some great callers tonight. Well done, everybody. The only thing we missed was Jeb, but I get it's getting late. And Jeb, next show, we'll get you on. But, man, those were some great callers tonight. Shout out to everybody that called in, from Max to Theo to Vudge to Lash. And then I think I'm missing somebody. Oh, of course, the redshirt sophomore, Matthew. Just great to have you guys on. Everybody did a great job tonight. All right, last bit of the chat, and I'm going to leave you guys for the night. I appreciate you. If you haven't liked and subscribed, if you could do that, that would help me so much. Thank you, guys. So many regulars in here. I love to see you guys. Asian Persuasion, Tyler Eubanks, David, Gary, John Peroni, Lash, Sauron's Wrath, Perez. Hope I don't miss anybody. I'm just going through the most recent ones. Of course, Theo, Malik Barroso, Rolando. So good to see you. I'm pulling a Jimbo. I can't just name one or two of you. I have to name every single one of you. We can't have hurt feelings here. Matt Myers, who was talking trash at the beginning of the show. I hate that guy, but thanks for being here. All right. I'm not going to scroll any further up. So if I missed you, I probably addressed you earlier. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Thank you guys for being here. All right. Scooby should only be an edge rusher, not a linebacker too. Alex Howard and Stanford should rotate a linebacker too. Yeah, that's very much. I think Alex Howard, I keep forgetting to mention this guy. I think he has a great shot to be a great player, like a one-and-done player next year. And that's exactly what you need in that room, because there's going to be a rotation. And you feel like someone's going to develop as the guy after Alex Howard if Alex Howard is the LB2 guy. And yeah, Stanford's – that's probably – I think I'm going to echo your sentiment right there, Tyler. Exactly. I think Alex and Damian – that's who I bet at rotation for that spot. But someone else is going to get in. Jernigan, Lockhart. Someone's going to get in there. Baton Rouge is a horrible place. It's Cajun Austin. I've dug in enough on LSU today, but I'll let you guys... I'll leave this without further comment. College Station is 100% better than the entire state of Louisiana. We're going to keep it going. NOLA's gotten much worse under TD. Yep. Okay. Without comment. I'll leave it. I still love Leon O'Neal. He's still going to war for us out there. I love Leon. I enjoyed my time at CSTET. Not a place I want to stay forever. Unless I'm like involved with football, I'm not going to stay there forever. If I was doing football every day there, it's not like I'm actively pursuing that or anything, but that would be a reason for me to stay. A&M fans are on the whole very respectful. Not true of LSU. Yeah, for sure. Well, an A&M shirt without protection and watch out for piss bombs. Yep. I want to go to a game there. Maybe some of y'all should join me whenever I go so I don't die. I mean, I could bring my girlfriend, but I don't know how much she can protect me. She's pretty mean. She's Latina, so. Anywho. She watches this. Okay. Auburn's going to be a tough one unless they have Peyton Thorne. I think they're going to have Peyton Thorne. The season presents a major climb, but Elko leadership makes some home games near automatic win in the seasons to come. It's a great early test or like threshold for Mike Elko's tenure. Because you could win a lot of these games. A+, says John. Sound Ref says, can't wait for the spring game. Definitely trying to go this year. Guys, I haven't told y'all, I cannot make the spring game. I have an obligation. I already have tickets. I'm going to Florida that weekend. So I'll be covering it from Florida. I'll throw out a video probably from a vehicle like I do when I'm not in my spare bedroom studio. Unfortunately, the used car salesman slander was true. Yep. Took us a long time to find it. Randy Bond cost us some games. Yep. We got a transfer kicker who might be able to play next year, so we'll see how that goes. So many of Jimbo's pressers and post games were the same, or pregame speeches were the same. Yeah, it was all rehearsed. It was pretty spirited his first couple of years. This year they were bad. Very just low spirit, low energy. Aggie, man, good to see you in here. I didn't see you earlier. Tyler Eubanks says A-. Only thing he missed was starting center and offensive tackle. We've talked about this. I think we disagree there, but that's okay. I respect it. And a fullback, H-back. I do agree with the fullback. Jimbo said all the right stuff, led to nothing. That's what I don't want to be. That's what we should all strive to avoid. It's called a manipulator. Jimbo said he had a big ego. He had a big ego. And I respect people that can be self-depreciating. I don't know what the word. I don't know. I'm missing the word. It's getting late. I'm talking too much. Whatever. It was a good program. Good night and gig 'em. It was a great show tonight. Y'all did a great job, guys. See you, Drew. Good to see you, Aggie man. You can't make the spring game either. Yeah, you're going to Vegas trip? I got a boys trip in Tampa. So, yeah. Guys, great show tonight. I did not expect such a great show. I thought it was going to be a shorter show. It seemed like it was going to be slow when I was doing the pre-show stuff. But y'all made it awesome. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you real soon. Gig 'em. Beat the hell